Hey, we're back. Huge welcome to Produce, Mix, Fix and Conquer. My name is Rich Steve Beck. I'm the founder of our awesome community. So feel free to join us on facebook.com/groups/Produce, Mix, Fix and Conquer. So if you're watching on Facebook, feel free to join our YouTube community, which is youtube.com/Produce, Mix and Fix and Conquer, where you'll find well over 30 engineers interviewed on our YouTube channel. So we've got a fantastic guest coming up next, Mr. Henning Pauly. So Henning, as I'm sure many of you are aware, has got an amazing YouTube channel. Has been in the industry for many years. He does some fantastic reviews of guitars, amps, and talks about everything audio related. So without further ado, Mr. Henning Pauly. How you doing, Henning?
I was looking at your Facebook thing. I wasn't paying attention.
No worries, man. How you doing?
I'm fine. It's late. I'm usually, I'm an old fart, so I should be in bed. But okay, for you, I'm here.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much. Really honored that you've decided to join us today. So super excited to have a chat with you about your journey as well. So maybe we could start off like we've done with our previous guests, right at the beginning of your journey. So how did it all begin? So what type of music did your parents get you into as a kid, and what sort of music did you listen to as a young child?
My parents, none.
Okay.
Well, my dad listened to classical music, and not even classical music, only Bach, Mozart, Beethoven. Maybe on a very like open, everything is modern kind of day, there was Vivaldi, but that's about as far as my dad went. And that was like a rambunctious kind of wild day, you know, when you put on Vivaldi. And my mom listened to, like, I don't know, some German songwriter that, you know, singer-songwriter kind of stuff in German. My brother in the room next door, what he listened to influenced me a lot. There was 80s Genesis, Saga, definitely Saga. I know all these Saga songs without ever having owned any of the albums. Rush. So I think some of the prog stuff I've done probably comes from that influence, which, you know, I didn't really consciously listen to it, but just came through the wall. And I'm a very late bloomer. I didn't realize music was something to enjoy emotionally until I was, I think, 15 or 16.
Yeah.
It was just background noise. Like, I played piano when I was 6, a couple of years, and I hated it because it was, this black dot means this, and you put your finger here, and if you don't have your finger in the right angle, then, you know, I yell at you. Okay, that's not how you teach a kid music.
Yeah.
And it was good. I was doing the Beatzart or whatever, all those guys up and down, but I mean, it was a mechanical translation of black dots on keys. Nobody explained to me it's supposed to, you know, be sad. It's supposed to be happy. It's supposed to be jumpy. Imagine kittens on meadows with whiskers. No, none of that.
Yeah.
So on my confirmation, which is some religious bullcrap, when I was, I think, 15, my brother, because it was probably cheap in the bargain bin, gave me the first Bon Jovi album, the self-titled. And I put that on. I had a CD player, and I had, I think, a Chris de Burgh album. Well, whatever. I think I even had a Paul McCartney record.
Yeah.
But it was just stuff playing. It wasn't stuff that did anything to me. It was just music. And then I put on Runaway, Bon Jovi. And I was, what's going on? What is happening right now? It made me energetic. It made me happy. It made me want to listen to that song over and over and crank it up louder.
Yeah.
Which I did. And then I think the next weekend they had on MTV, I don't know if you remember that, but that was like a TV station that was playing music. And then they stopped for some reason. But they had Monsters of Rock weekend. It's do you know what that is? Is that still a thing?
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I don't know if it's still a thing now, but I'm in my late 30s, so I remember MTV, like you said, when they played music, and MTV2 as well when they did, all that sort of stuff. But I don't know if Monsters of Rock is still a thing, but I remember Monsters.
It was
of
in
Rock.
1990.
Yeah.
And all weekend long, MTV was playing the Monsters of Rock bands that were at Monsters of Rock. Not necessarily the festival, but they were playing music videos from the bands that were there. And it was Bon Jovi, which is why I was paying attention, because I knew the name Bon Jovi. And then it was Aerosmith, Whitesnake, the Slip of the Tongue tour with Steve Vai. It was Motley Crue. I mean, all that 80s goodness. I think Scorpions. And so I took a VHS tape and for 4 hours taped every music video from that weekend that they were playing. And there I had my list of bands to buy. And that's what became my basis of like my music. So Aerosmith, Pump album, loads of Bon Jovi stuff, Whitesnake. They played some Chili Peppers, and that wasn't my thing, and still isn't. So that was all the 80s glam rocky kind of thing. Poison, yeah. Cinderella. I mean, we're talking like hair and spandex and all that stuff. But I mean, people that could play, people that could write, people that could sing.
Yeah.
I sound like an old man. But yeah, that's what started it. And then very quickly, I wanted to play guitar and did that. And that just then took over my life.
Amazing, absolutely. So can you remember what your first guitar was that you picked up as a kid?
I think it's possibly in the other room. Was a 200, well now 99 euro roughly, probably a nylon string beginner guitar.
Yeah.
I woke up on January 1st, 1990, after New Year's party at my friend's on an air mattress, as you do.
Yep.
And against a Sabotage Gutter Ballet poster, I remember this, was his acoustic guitar. And Jan, his name, showed me an E minor, which is, of course, the easiest of all chords. Yeah. And 6 days later, I got my first acoustic. And then probably a month or two later, I got my first electric, which was a used Ibanez cheapo. Half a year later, I had my first flower pattern gem.
Nice.
And started playing in a band, like literally like half a year after I started playing. And I was bad and never got good, but still, I mean,
Oh man, come on. No, absolutely. It's crazy, isn't it? Like kind of, that's so cool that you got inspired by the late 80s, early 90s rock, because I think I was slightly after that. So I was like the grunge guy, that I loved like Nirvana and Pearl Jam and all those sorts of bands in like the early 90s. That's kind of my thing.
All the bands that I really, really hated because they destroyed the music I loved. Oh, great.
Man, sorry. Sorry. However, my dad used to be a DJ, just at like friends' parties and stuff in the late 70s and the 80s, and he had a wall of like 7-inch vinyls, and he said, just listen to this. And I listened to Europe and Bon Jovi. So it was those bands as a 4-year-old, 5-year-old that got me into music initially. And that's what I absolutely love and still love. I remember, like, I think one of my first CDs was Bon Jovi Crossroads as well, so kind of all like the best of, and it was just such a great album just to explore that as well. But that's so cool. So tell me about the bands that you're in then at that point, like in the early 90s. So was it Germany that you were touring around?
I mean, my first band with originals was called Storyteller.
Yeah.
And interesting, the first song that we wrote, Storyteller, is in 5/4. Because I had no idea how to write anything, and that riff just was there. And but it was always like, the thing is, if I do something, I do it like I follow it, I make it my passion, and then I do it right. There's no reason to do something half-assed and then the other thing half-assed. I rather do one thing and a whole-ass it.
Yeah.
And so writing stuff, and then let's produce something, and no idea how it works. And then we got from my guitar teacher like an 8-track tape. I mean, we had 8-track. My parents bought me a Tascam 4-track when they were traveling around the world for like a anniversary trip. And they went to Hong Kong and got me a Tascam 4-track, and I then was just recording and overdubbing and turning the thing around to get more tracks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then the EP, I think 5 or 6 songs we recorded on his 8-track. And again, having to do things like, bouncing. And there was cassette tape. I mean, the quality must have been awful. I don't want to listen to those things anymore. But then we took that into like a mixing place. And that was literally a guy with a 12-track, 12-channel console, maybe. I don't even know if he had outboard gear. He mixed it to 2-track tape, then cut it, and we paid for that. But it was always like, let's do this, let's do it, And we were the first band in the area in '92, I guess, that actually had a CD. Everyone had, tapes. We actually had a CD. I then did Chain, like a prog metal band, because we all like Dream Theater, who didn't?
Yep.
And we wanted to be Dream Theater really bad. So for 1 year we rehearsed, we wrote songs, and never played live because we couldn't find a singer, because who can sing like James Labrie?
Indeed.
And then recorded all the songs with an SM58 on the floor to a tape, like literally mic on the floor, high quality shit. Okay. And after I studied and all that stuff, I was living in California. I found that tape. Back then, still had a way to play that tape. And I was like, I remember everything. I remember the synth hooks. I remember the riffs. Everything was very, very catchy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this needs to be recorded right. And then I recorded the whole album that was never actually done, and found a vocalist friend of mine to sing on it. And I did the whole thing just for fun to come back for Christmas, invite the guys for coffee and say, oh, by the way, listen to this. I did something. And they heard the whole album that they hadn't thought of in, 10 years. And it was for that. It was for the guys in the band as a thanks for doing this in the days back then with me. And it finally, they held it in their hands. And then things spiraled out of that. But we're skipping ahead.
Oh man, that's
I
cool.
played in a country band, cover band. I mean, of course, I was opinionated. I only wanted to do my thing. If someone wanted to do a, cover of Nirvana, I would have, thrown up, because there was only one music that was right, which is, of course, totally stupid. People need to understand that music isn't just playing in a band. So many musicians it's playing in a band, which is so dumb, because who writes the music in an elevator?
That's true.
Someone writes that music. Someone gets literally, and I'm not shitting you, a suitcase full of cash. My jingle writing teacher, John Aldrich, told the story of him going into a recording session, and back in the day, New York somewhere, orchestra full, sitting there, and they wanted him to write elevator music or arrange elevator music based on popular songs or something like this. And he named a ridiculous amount for it, and then sat there. I mean, he's a guy, pencil, write it out, full scores, give it to the musicians. He said he worked his ass off for 2 days and literally got a suitcase full of money. Got it in a suitcase. So people that go like, oh, that's beneath me. Well, ask John Aldrich how much money he made with a McDonald's commercial. And I mean, game music, even crappy little, what's it called? In-game purchase crap little jewel games on your iPad.
Yeah.
Someone's writing the music for that.
Yeah.
And so many places where we can't even think. The yogurt commercial. I have a friend who made a lot of money writing for German TV stations, and all he did was the little jingles when the TV station logo comes in. Diddle-diddle-ding.
That's crazy.
I mean, if you do that, then you can be in the jazz band where 3 people sit in the audience, because who cares? I make my money. So never be too good to do whatever kind of music. If you have a chance to play in a salsa band and you don't care for salsa, take the gig. It's still better than, I don't know, selling onions or whatever it is that people do that don't make music. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. It's you're so right. It's the fact that, you know, I think it's really tough. It's like there's a lot of people, like, you know, they might settle with a 9 to, not that there's anything wrong with a 9 till 5 job, but they might settle with a 9 till 5 job and be in that struggling band. But yet, like you said, you know, if they just decided, well, hold on, I could do music for a living and, like you said, write a jingle or a few jingles and do, like you said, like yogurt commercials and still be in that band as well at the same time, then that's surely living the dream, because you get to do music as a living, as your job, you know, which is what we're all chasing, I suppose, as musicians and engineers. But that's so cool.
I mean, we can even turn that around to the absurd. For me, a horrible job would be to play in a Rammstein cover band. Because, I'm sorry, that's techno with heavy guitars. That's pretty damn horrible music, if you ask me. Stupid, speechy singing that's horrible. And then the drums go boom, 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 4 on the floor. It's for the techno people that don't want to listen to techno, but that's not metal. That's just me. That was my rant. But friend of mine played in a Rammstein cover, like tribute band, and they did it like full on, the full stage and the fire and the everything and the oil and everything. And everyone in this band was 3 times better than the guy in Rammstein. They were extremely good musicians. Most of them jazz musicians, people that could really, really, really play.
Wow.
And you know what? You can't make money with that. That was the gig for them. Yeah. Going touring with the Rammstein band. You know what? At some point, going chuck, 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 and then another chord. What? That can't be fulfilling. But standing in front of like 5,000 people that paid $20 or $40 to see a tribute band, that's still better than selling onions. I don't know why I'm saying that, but you know, you get the idea. You know, changing tires or whatever it is.
Yeah, completely. That's crazy. So I know that, didn't you, so you were in the advert industry for a while, was that right? So
a little bit, yep.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. You get out of Berkeley, and what do? I mean, yeah, I never wanted to be the artist. I never wanted to be the guy in front of the camera or in the band. So I want to be a producer, arranger. That's what I studied, production and arranging and sound design, which is just a little bit east of engineering.
Yeah.
And my brain's weird. Why do I say east? That's the stuff I'm thinking about. But then came to LA, worked at Guitar Center, got a gig at an ad agency, ran their studio. And what do? You make money by doing TV commercials. And then Cindy from the local country station comes over and does a TV commercial, a radio commercial for the mattress spot, whatever.
Yeah.
You can bitch about that, but you're sitting in the studio coaching someone on a mic and learning about how to produce vocals, which is, when you do what I do now, pretty damn important. De-essing, compressing speech, the right mics. I mean, that's, you know, paying your dues to, you don't know what for. You don't know that later on you're doing YouTube videos, but vocal sound is important. Coaching people, getting the right performance out of them. That's always what I wanted to do, what I'm good at. And so I did that, and then I wrote jingles for them, loads of them. And I did these beautiful TV commercials like Sunday, Sunday, Sunday at Dance Auto Center. Dance Auto Center! We're slashing prices. You know, that like the bottom of the barrel, worst pay, like give your soul to the devil kind of advertising.
Yeah.
paid the bills. I had a job to do that. Hey, Henning, we need a commercial in 3 hours. Frankie from Dawn's is coming over, and Frankie from Dawn's means they're connected. Like, this isn't Dawn's Auto Center, like they're nice Italians. No, they're the connected Italians.
Yeah.
The ex-Hells Angels Italians. It's the place where you really don't want to buy a car, because if you don't pay your installments, you know, the baseball bat comes out. So I did that stuff, but then I had a studio. So on the side, I did whatever I wanted to do, which brings us back to Chain, rebuilding that album for fun.
Amazing.
And I really had no idea musically what I wanted to do. At Berkeley, I did a lot of the arrangements and stuff I wrote was probably between Mike Oldfield, like some ambient, some world music with other crap in it. I did everything. And why limit yourself to something? Because then you don't learn.
Yeah.
I mean, I like the money that AC/DC makes, but oh my God, would I not want to be Angus Young? Because what kind of life is it to write the same riff over and over and over? And really, I mean, the guy is good at what he does, but it would bore me to death to make a very similar album over and over. Perfecto. Perfecto. You probably know Dawn's Auto Center because you live in Azusa. Yeah. If you drive out to, damn where it was. I mean, on the 10, Dawn's Auto Center is right on the 10. Yeah. Don't buy a car there, Perfecto.
Oh, man.
He probably has driven past there.
Yeah.
I don't want to. It's not in Redlands. I don't know. We'll figure it out, Perfecto.
We'll have to find out. Yeah, we'll have to Google it.
Oh yeah, someone call up Dawn's Auto Center, the website. It's probably as bad as I imagine it. I mean, it's 20 years later now, but still. So the point is, I always try to learn more. And when I did Fontana, yes, thank you.
There you go.
Yes, that's where that is. Oh my God! Wait, I'm having PTSD. I actually wrote a Metallica style jingle for them and a Slipknot style jingle.
Yeah.
Standing on their roof with a band playing that stuff while it's being filmed. Oh, wow. Ooh, oh, what are you doing to me? Ooh, okay, I got it. I'm fine.
That's mad. Absolutely crazy.
Yeah, so I mean, I didn't know stylistically what I wanted to do, but then I discovered that the tape did that album and sent that to an internet radio station that did progressive metal and progressive rock.
Yeah.
And they started playing it. And for me, hey, that's cool. A song from me, a song from Rush, all good. I was happy. Yeah. I didn't want more. And then they said, we didn't interview. They was Sean, the one guy that ran the internet radio station with 17 listeners. Okay.
Yeah.
And Sean said he just recently did an interview with James Labrie, who said, if you ever know someone who would be, worthy of, doing an album, to let him know. And Sean was like, well, you could be a good guy to do an album with James Labrie. I'm like, yeah, right. Well, when James Labrie says something like this, he's a business guy. Yeah. If Sean can find someone good enough for James to put his voice on it and not be embarrassed, it means a paycheck for James. It doesn't mean James is just running around offering his service to people, but I mean, people need to make money.
Yeah.
So put your feelers out there. And then Sean connected us, which was completely strange. So what do you write when you have the chance to present something to James Labrie?
You tell me.
No, you tell me.
I have no idea.
You got one chance to write for someone that you've admired as a dream vocalist forever, who also plays with Petrucci and all these other guys.
I have no idea where I would even begin, to be fair.
I first thought about my musical that I had written, like a rock opera, but it would have been very stupid. I'm reading a comment. I'm gonna go to the AC/DC thing again, but but it wouldn't have made sense for one guy to sing everything. Okay.
Yeah.
You write basic blues. Okay, Adam, that's not first of all, Adam, that's not fair. And I just pushed your channel in my video I made today, Adam, saying I'm not going to go into that. Please go and watch it on Hop Studios. So I'm going to edit that out right now. Give me a second. How do I edit that? As for AC/DC, most powerful rhythm section in the world, and it's freaking insane to do that. But for me, it would be, I want to grow as a musician. And that wouldn't be it for me to just stick with the same thing. So for me, the only way to present something to James was do something I'm passionate about. And maybe something that the band would never do, which is something a band wouldn't do. Which is something a band wouldn't do. How do I get out of the sentence? Something not band-like.
Yeah.
Like, would Dream Theater use loops? No.
No.
Because it wouldn't make sense if they have a kick-ass drummer. Yeah. Would Dream Theater go and chop up the guitars to be very stuttery? So pretty much you play a power chord, but then you're chopping that up to have a rhythm that the guitar isn't even playing. No, because he wouldn't play that. So the point is, do stuff that is not something you would do as a band. Do things you would do as a production.
Yeah.
Approach it from a studio producer point of view, not from a this has to be played live point of view. If you have to play stuff live, you have restrictions. Big orchestra? No. Bagpipes and alpenhorn played backwards through distortion? Probably not.
No.
But if everything is possible because you're sitting on a computer with samples, as many tracks as you want, and it doesn't have to sound like a band because you don't even want it to sound like a band, then literally anything's possible. And I wanted to combine, if you listen to film scores, because of the cuts, they very oftentimes have to do odd time signatures. So when you listen to film scores and imagine it's prog, it's prog. So I approach frame shift as a mix between a single guy in a studio and film scores, where literally a film score guy can do anything they want because no limitations, no band.
Yeah.
So I dropped the whole idea of the band and wrote this riff, but then literally recorded it and chopped it up. And because back in the day, there was no zero crossing, there was no, let's automatically look for no clicks in the wave. When you were cutting that in Cubase back in 93, I want to say. No, 2003, not 93, 2003.
Yeah.
With a Lisp specific 2003. When you listen to the album, it's click central. But what it actually sounds like is all those rhythms have a very hard attack because literally there's no zero crossings.
No, that's bad.
So all those cuts simply just sound very hard, which is good because that way it's very rhythmical.
Sure.
So I did a lot of stuff like that. I did a shit ton of vocal overdubs. So one thing I wanted to present to him is like, hey, Paul in Ireland.
Hey, Paul.
I guess. Do I get paid for that? I don't know. Send you my account number later. So when in Dream Theater, what they never do is never ever is there a pause in the music and the vocal picks up. Let's say, pre-chorus, band stops, and the vocal goes, and here we go, and then the band comes in on the go. You know what I mean? I'm like
yeah.
They never ever write with vocals in mind. They would never go and say, and here we're going to do a break, and there's going to be like a nice 3-part harmony, just singing that sentence, and then we come back in.
Yeah.
Not ever, never, ever, never is there anything actually designed to be a vocal spot. Its vocals are always an afterthought. And I made it a before thought. I don't know if that's a word.
It's a great way to do it, though, Henning, to be fair. It's like, I know that when I've been in studios with bands, I mean, I'm a mastering engineer. That's my main job. But, you know, over the years, when I've been in bands or I've supported recording engineers popping into studios, when I've watched the process, it's always been, like you said, the fact that they go for drums first, and they do maybe bass or guitar, whichever way around. And then, like you said, vocals is always an afterthought. Like you said, though, however, if you do go with vocals to begin with, that could be a great way, you know, then you've got more time, because to me, I don't know if you agree, but vocals are the most important above all things to deliver.
As one of my teachers in don't remember his name, but mix teacher at Berkeley, he always said, when you're mixing, think about going to Tower Records. And for the kids out there, that was a place where you could actually buy physical copies of music on these things that were called CDs. And you bought these for actual money. No, there wasn't like an unlimited amount. You didn't go in and just pay $9.99 and take out as many as you wanted. No, you actually paid $9.99 to $19.99 per disc, but then it actually belonged to you. You could listen to it over and over. It's a weird concept, I understand. And a little bit of sarcasm in there. So he said when you go to Tower Records, and it was literally 3 stories of music.
Yeah.
There isn't a CD. There isn't a snare section. Yeah. You won't find the bass music section, but you will find the vocal section. There's a whole section dedicated to vocal music. That should tell you something. Vocals are the most important thing.
Absolutely.
Hey, it's that German guy. Mo, you are a German guy. Right back at you. Mo was in that ad agency, and we mixed at least one of his albums there.
Oh, that's cool.
He actually came to LA to have me mix an album, which I don't know why that went south. Because I don't know what I'm doing. But vocals, yeah. So the idea was, let's write something that, even though I didn't know exactly what the pickup would be, I'm like, okay, band stops, 3, 4, bam, and then on 3, 4 we have a vocal pickup. When you want a good melody, it starts with a foundation of a good harmony.
Yeah.
If you're playing riff in D, vocals can't do anything melodically unless you're very, very, very gifted. If the chords aren't changing, if the chords are changing, you could sing the same damn note and it's interesting.
Yeah.
So the whole idea was, let's do things for the vocals. Let's have whole counterpoint choir passages with interweaving vocals. Yeah. Let's Walking Through Genetic Space has 40 tracks of James Labrie singing choir for the first 40 seconds. And that is all stuff he never had to do in Dream Theater, because they don't think of Dream Theater as vocal music, which is very sad. And I can hear it now. I listen to a Dream Theater album and I hear that the vocals are forced on parts where nobody was thinking about it. They're all just doing their thing and like, oh, James, do your thing. Like, no, you have to construct a bed for the vocals. Be complicated here, but then be accommodating here.
Yeah. Surely that gives you then, I suppose if you're doing vocals first, that maybe gives the guitarist more freedom to complement the vocalist as well and kind of do their thing and get more inventive and try different ideas out in the studio on the fly. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
Well, being a guitar player, I didn't necessarily think I had to use guitar. On that album, the song La Mer, I think 90% of it's piano. And simple piano. I mean, complexity doesn't necessarily produce the best song. And you see, Adam is saying something. Yes, Adam, Spock's Beard was a big influence. Exactly. With the a cappella stuff and the focus on vocals. Oh, yeah, you are 100% correct. Amazing album. Spock's Beard was mind-blowing up to when Neil Morse left and then only sang about baby Jesus from that point on. And let's pray at the altar of our Lord and the Savior. And it was just mind-numbingly dumb. But up to that point, oh my God, Spock's Beard was amazing. Right. And that really gave me a lot of ideas for the vocal counterpoint stuff. Yeah, so I did, long story short, I did film score-y prog metal stuff. James listened to it. James said, awesome, totally cool, totally different. Horrible production, because I had no idea how to record things or how to mix. I was always mixing in the box. I mean, let's bring this back to mixing because it says it up there in your logo. Cool. Really tiny. I like the producer's big because that's what I'm very big about, and the mix isn't very tiny. I'm good with that.
Cool.
And he liked it, and then said, "Let's do the album."
Yeah.
It's again, production wasn't great. Was a mixed in the box with back then one UAD 1 card. So you could open one of their old Pultecs. You had to put that on the bass drum.
Yeah.
Mix it down. Took half an hour or something. Then close that plugin. Open the next one. I mean, it was.
Oh man.
I mean, we're talking massive pain in the ass.
That's crazy.
And the production on that album is not great. All the guitar sounds. Are you sitting? You're sitting. Pod 2. Everything.
No way. That's crazy. Pod 2, really?
Pod 2. Rack version.
Oh, wow.
However, cool. And this is what's very, very, very important. Nobody gave a crap. Hundreds of reviews from all around the world. Not a single one said, oh, the guitar sounds are bad. Everyone actually said the production is very, very, very good. No, it wasn't. The bass drum was almost nowhere to be seen or heard. It's thin. It should have been massive. It wasn't. The guitar sounds could have been insane. Mm-hmm. I don't even know, like 40, 50 amps now. I mean, I can literally go and get the exact specific amp in guitar for what I want. Nobody cared. You don't need amazing equipment. You can even have a shitty recording. If it's something that moves people, who cares? I mean, realistically, were the recordings that we grew up with, the stuff that we cherish as like the holy grail in the music industry, whether it's The Who, Zeppelin, Floyd, Hendrix, I'm sorry, none of that was a good recording. It was a good recording for the time, but by today's standards, horrible recordings.
You're right. Yeah.
Nobody cares because it's classic history. It's amazing. But I mean, where on a Zeppelin album do you have a kick drum that actually goes and does what a kick drum does nowadays?
Nowhere. Absolutely nowhere. Yeah.
They're roomy. I mean,
yeah.
So if the music's good, it doesn't matter.
That's so cool.
And it's, love that. I really think it's important for people to know that watch my channel, which I think we've got 3 here. I can talk about expensive guitars and amps and all that stuff all day long. But it doesn't matter if you collect them and you don't make music.
Mm-hmm.
And something we saw 2 weeks ago really blew my mind. I just had 42 Gear Street with a whole bunch of my friends.
Yeah.
Or acquaintances. Looking at you, Adam. No. So we're here literally with the creme de la creme of the music equipment. Like Soldano was here and Friedman, Nick Huber guitars. I mean, Heritage, the nicest guitar gear on the planet. In my house, in my mom's, not bedroom, my mom's living room, in my brother's garage, literally was filled with probably a good $100,000 in guitars.
Amazing.
But one evening, we're going to the hotel where the YouTubers were staying. And the hotel owner has a practice room, which is a big room in the hotel where previously festivities were held. And he built himself like a 15-meter stage with drum riser and everything.
Yeah.
Full PA, everything. Because why not? He's got the space. So he's got a little cover band. And Andy Ferris organized, let's play here. Now, none of these smart amp guys thought, oh, let's bring an amp. So we had one of those new Ibanez headless guitars and an aluminum guitar from Bagale. But everything else was what was on stage, which was a little orange Terra 15, small amp.
Yep.
The other side was an old Houston Kettner Matrix. I don't know if you know what that is. I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, it's like, I've seen them. Yeah.
It's a head, and I think it's probably solid state, and it has a rack unit on top, so you can shove 2 rack units in there. What was in there was a Behringer V amp. So we're not talking pod. No. Behringer V amp into a matrix. Okay, literally equipment. We would all just go like, we're too good to play this. See, here's what happened. Old ass drum kit, 15-watt orange amp, matrix with a V amp in it. You know what happened?
No.
People went up on stage. Adam Steele grabbed an Ibanez bass that someone grabbed out of the garage because there was no bass. And the room was cooking.
Awesome.
Perfected Orchestral played on that matrix V amp combo. Yeah. No, the thing is, nobody cared. And then Jamie Humphries, who was playing with, a guy with the hair.
Guy with the hair. Who's that?
The guy with the hair. Brian Kay. We're talking about any world-class people.
Yeah.
Playing on a little orange with a aluminum guitar. It didn't matter. Nothing mattered.
Yeah.
They rocked. They had fun. We were smiling. We're having the best time. Here all day, we talk about the quality of equipment and we review it. There, nobody gave a flying rat's ass. Let's just make music with whatever is here. And that has to be the thing for anyone, whether they make music or they mix or whatever. My mix will be better when I have those speakers. My mix will be better when I have that plugin or that interface. If I could make an album on a PC in 2003 with one UAD card and one running plugin at a time and whatever was built into Cubase, and that album got international release and nobody in the world said the production is bad. Nobody. Then literally anyone can do it. Even Adam can mix. Even Adam can pull it off somehow.
Oh, man. That's so cool. I love that story. That's absolutely amazing. I remember actually the V amps as well. I remember walking into a guitar shop. It must have been, about 2002, 2003. And I was there looking at the amount of money I had in my account at the time thinking, can I afford a pod or can I afford a V amp? And I went with a V amp. No word of a lie. I took it home and went, this is shit. I'm never going to use this. And I took it back to the shop. But the fact that you've just told me that story, that you can still rock a room with a Behringer V amp, that's so cool, Henning.
I'm going to have a video of that coming out. I recorded with my little DJI camera. And even that camera somehow did auto leveling. And I got good audio. I got audio good enough for the video. And we were having a blast. We were cheering. We were an audience of literally like 15 YouTube channels and some people from brands, but it was a really good time. And then in the middle of a song, I don't know what they were playing, but then Jamie Humphries started jokingly playing Nothing Else Matters.
Yeah.
In a totally different song. All of a sudden, they're all picking it up. He's like, oh, now we got to do it. And then Adam Steele goes on the mic and sings it, couldn't talk the next day. But we just had a blast with music.
Yeah.
We didn't care what the equipment was, and it can't be about the equipment. I did a video on my channel, the cheapest possible setup I can put together versus whatever the most expensive stuff I have is.
Yeah.
And it had to be like, a guitar, real tube amp, because of course with a free plugin you can do something, but I wanted like real in the room stuff.
Yeah, sure.
So it's a little 1-watt amp from Blackheart, $120, through a Harley Benton 112.
Yeah.
With an Ibanez guitar for $179. So how would you record that?
You would record it with a mic?
Yeah, but that mic costs money. That mic has to then go into an audio interface, right?
With a phone nowadays.
That's exactly what I did.
Cool.
I mean, let's forget about the fact that now a phone is $1,200. But I think we would agree that an iPhone is not a good idea to put in front of a guitar cab to mic it.
100%.
And I didn't even use any kind of special app. I literally used voice record, which is horrible because it probably focuses in only on the mids. I used to put in voice record, recorded it, took the data, put it into Cubase, EQ'd it a bit, versus a €6,000 guitar through a Friedman amp, through a UA-aux, Apollo. I mean, €12,000 worth of gear versus 430. And I think 90% of the people said they liked the cheap system more. It had more mids, it had more balls, more energy, more rock and roll. Of course, it was like, open chords, slightly crunchy. This wouldn't work for metal. It wouldn't work for pop production. But the point was, never ever say you can't make music because you don't have the right gear.
Absolutely. Completely agree with you. That's so cool. There's I've got to share this with you as well. I've shared this with a couple of other engineers and producers. And this guy, there's a shop, I'm sure you've come across it in the UK, PMFC Music. But they have a guitar repair center next door. Anyway, so this guy, there's a brand new Epiphone Les Paul Custom Pro, about 2016, something like that. Anyway, so he posts it up on Facebook, and he says, well, the neck is snapped and I've glued it back together. And he posted it up for £60. I have never driven down the motorway within the speed limit so quickly to pick up the guitar. And he went, oh, I'll give you the case as well. And they're thinking, whoa. The case alone is probably worth about £60. So technically, you've given me a free Epiphone Les Paul Custom Pro. And yes, I know that it's an Epiphone, and some snobs will there go, well, Gibson's better, which might be
it
true,
isn't,
but who knows? Absolutely. But the fact my Epiphone Les Paul Custom Pro that cost me £60, which was free because the case probably cost £60, is my go-to guitar, and I absolutely love it. It's great, and it's just good fun. It's good fun to play with my mates' bands and just have fun and connect with music, like you said. It's great. It's just brilliant.
I mean, look at me nowadays. Back in the day when I actually made albums, a lot of the stuff was recorded on a PV Predator that a rabbi bought for me at Guitar Center. I didn't have money. It was a used guitar. I helped him pick out the guitar that he wanted. He saved money. He said, I'll buy you that guitar. I'm like, are you serious? He bought me a guitar, $260, because he liked me. Never met the guy. Never met him after. Rabbi bought me a guitar.
That's cool.
And I used that on a lot of recordings. Heavy stuff, doesn't matter. On an album with Steve Walsh and Mike from Kansas and Mike Sadler from Saga and some other people, I used like the 1-watt Blackheart. That with an SD1 in front of it, best lead sounds ever. I had a Soldano used one, but I used that for lead sounds. The cab I used on the whole album and for many, many albums was Fender Hot Rod combo.
Yeah.
Where I took the part out because that cab sounds fantastic. And I put a Sennheiser in front of that, and 609. Done.
Really?
So a lot of the albums I did were done digitally or with rather simple equipment. Nowadays, not one of the guitars in here, and I don't even know how many guitars that is. Let's say 40-ish.
Mm-hmm.
All the guitars now in the room are all very, very high-end gear.
Yeah.
Like I had some Harley Bentons here or there or something cheaper. Let me check quickly. Cheapest guitar in here is $1,500.
Okay.
Going up to like $8,000. I have literally the nicest amps in the world. I mean, there's a Ref Generator 120, there's a Soldano SLO 100, and it just goes from there. But what do I do with it? When I had simple gear, I was actually doing albums. Now, guitar-wise, I could do the best shit in the world. I wear silly sweaters on YouTube. I don't produce albums anymore. Of course, I use it for my videos, but that's kind of a self-serving prophecy because the videos are about gear, so obviously I use the gear in the videos. But now this is a haven for a guitar player, and I don't do it. I don't produce albums. I don't record albums. I record music all the time, but for my videos. So what's the point in having this stuff if not to use it for recording? The thing is, would it make albums better? Would I write better music with it? I don't think I would.
That's so interesting that you say that. Just to flip that on its head, what is, excuse the pun, amp head? What's your favorite amp head out of your collection? I know maybe that's like choosing a favorite child, but have you found your dream tone yet? That was your dream tone. Was it with something really cheap, or was it with something really, really expensive, or have you not found that dream tone yet? Are you still chasing that tone?
Oh, no. I mean, I have literally any tone anyone could have. What I don't have is the skill to get the tone. But with what I have in here, I could literally get anything. I mean, the thing is, which is also why I could never have any signature amp or signature whatever. It's like, I am stylistically so, I don't want to say diverse, but interested in so many different directions. If I was a metalhead doing modern John Brownie kind of gen stuff, Ref Generator 120, 4 channels, it does the modern chugger thing to perfection. I don't need anything else. So I have that, but am I doing that music? Here or there, but I like a lot of singer-songwriter stuff.
Awesome.
Maybe a little bit of overdrive, but no more. Warm, round, clean sound with a little bit of overdrive and some, univibe stuff like this. For that, I would go for the Tone King Sky King. That is the clean sound that I always come back to, and it is the most pedal compatible amp. Any pedal you send into that is perfection. So if I had to have an amp for that, that would be the amp. But I just got my Soldano SLO 100, and
awesome,
great clean sound, insane drop D rhythm on the clean. So you take the clean, switch that to crunch, crank up the gain. It'll kill you. And then, of course, the leads are to die for. If I did the music that I really want to do and money is no issue, I would do 80s rock. I would do Bon Jovi style stuff, that kind of stuff. And for that, SLO 100 will do anything you ever need to do. Those really cheesy singing solos with delay on it and maybe a little bit of chorus, the 80s stuff. It'll absolutely cover that. Were I to make a studio, were I to try to make money with a studio, on a budget, so I have bands coming, I do stuff, and I have to be stylistically diverse. I would keep my Synergy Syn 50 head, because it's got 2 modules, and I would say 99%, I'd say 90%. 90% of what the amps those modules are based on can do, it will do. The Fryette stuff is ridiculously good, so I can absolutely get modern high-gain stuff, not a problem. The Dietzel stuff is good. If you want a killer clean, it's got a clean module. You got the Friedman stuff, it's in there. So if you're running a studio and you have to pick one amp to serve a lot of different purposes, that's the amp to get. Get the different modules, which are $399 each. And then the modern band comes in, you smack modules in there that fit the modern band. The classic guy comes in that needs a little bit of Vox and a little bit of Fender, pop those modules in. It's definitely the solution if you're not want to go down the rabbit hole of having 20 amps behind you and amp switches, and it's nice to have it. But realistically, anything that the Synergy system doesn't do for you compared to the real thing or the real amp, nobody cares. Yeah. If I could record albums with a Pod 2 and they were popular albums, then yeah, Synergy system will absolutely do the job.
That's so cool. I've got to ask you though, before we carry on about amps as well, thanks so much for that, Henning. As a Bon Jovi fan, and I know it probably hurts a little bit, but how did you feel when Richie left the band and obviously Phil X then took over? Do you reckon that they did well with Phil X as well? As I know personally, I really enjoy Phil X as a guitarist, but how did you feel when Richie left Bon Jovi? Do you feel that their sound shifted at all?
Let me answer a question before I answer that.
Sure.
From Enox. I don't know how to say that. Just the preamp section that changes. That's correct. I wasn't blown away by the Synergy when it was the Syn 1, where you just have the preamp and then pump that into whatever power amp you want.
Yeah.
It was great, but it didn't really kick me. And then I got the Syn 50 with the 50-watt power amp, and yes, just 6L6s. So technically, if you're putting a module in there where the original amp should have EL34s, it's technically not right. But there are many amps where the power section isn't, well, it's a good power section and it'll do the job. There are some amps where the power section is more important. Like if you have a Plexi style amp, or for example, the Friedman Dirty Shirley. Yeah. The Dirty Shirley has 58, 80 somethings, and the power section has a different kind of low end that the module in the Syn 50 can't deliver. However, most of the modules in that head are phenomenal. So yeah, you're just changing out the preamp, but on a lot of them, Fryettes, Friedmans, the sound is made in the preamp, and with a good power section, you're good. I think you can even switch it out for 34s, but you're right. It is just the preamps. However, it's a very good power amp. So I loved Richie. Love Richie's solo albums. They're mind-blowing.
Yeah.
So here's a problem with him leaving. It's not the guitar player leaving. It's a lot of what made Bon Jovi leaving. It's the songwriting.
Yeah. Because
his songwriting is, if you listen to his solo albums, it's very strong. Even more so, his voice is very important. When you know his solo albums, you know his solo voice. You hear him everywhere. You hear him doing thirds above John. And they're always singing together. And that's gone.
Yeah.
And that's a huge loss. John also can't sing even remotely where he used to sing. The other thing is, so you have someone writing chords. I think John Bon Jovi is one of the most gifted songwriters ever.
Sure.
But he's basic, okay?
Yeah.
He plays one rhythm. It's 1, and 2, and. It's the, let's do the 2 and strum. Okay, fine. It's the one rhythm he does. But he's basic. He plays basic chords.
Yeah.
So what happens is he doesn't write riffs. He raise your hands. That's an 80s riff right there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you have someone like him writing a great song, and that's halfway done, and then Richie comes in the room, and Richie goes like, "That's killer chords. Let me write an intro riff that maybe comes back." And because they were kind of working together so long, John would probably allow that. And then you had a song with cool guitar parts and riffs. I think probably the solo parts were worked out quite a bit earlier than nowadays, not an afterthought. Like if you listen to, I don't know, something like Bed of Roses or whatever, those are melodic parts. They're melodies that belong in the songs. If you listen to the music now, it's those chords. It's here's a song with chords. It gets arranged. It gets produced. But nobody writes a riff. Nobody writes a strong guitar melody anymore. Right. John Shanks is a producer, and he's a good producer. But what he does is he treats the guitar parts a little bit more like U2-ish, the edge-ish stuff I would do, like, nice dotted eighth ideas on delays. But the accompanying guitar parts, none of those guitar parts would stand on its own as a memorable riff, like Raise Your Hands or whatever that's Slippery When Wet.
Yeah, I know where you're going. Around that era, in the mid-80s.
All those are very, very memorable riffs.
Yeah. And
play any part, any instrumental part of any new Bon Jovi album, and you wouldn't know what it is, because the riffs
Medicine.
No, not Bad Medicine. I'm talking about come on guys, help me out. Not Bad Medicine. From Slippery When Wet, there's the two big ones. You Give Love a Bad Name.
Yeah.
And the other one with the talk box.
Oh, Living on a Prayer.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, what a song, what a riff.
Yeah.
So that's gone. Here's the thing. There is someone in the band who can do this, who's a riff master, whose music is 90% riff. Thank you, Perfecto. Phil X is a powerhouse of rock and roll.
Yeah.
And he's not allowed to be that. That's the problem. Like, he's an extremely rock and roll guy.
Yeah.
Guitar, amp, crank that shit up. He can write a riff any day of the week.
Yeah.
Did you know that I think he played on the first Daughtry album?
Oh, did he? Oh,
he did.
Way. That's cool.
As far as I can tell, I think he also played for Avril Lavigne.
Right.
On earlier albums, I think so. But Daughtry definitely he did, and I can tell, because I can tell that now that I know, I can tell that there's a bridge pickup almost only on parts where other people would go to a neck pickup, and so there is someone that if John took the song to Phil would add what Richie would have added. Phil could add the vocal parts that Richie would have added. However, he's a hired gun.
Sure.
They don't come to him. John goes to John Shanks. They work stuff out together. John Shanks produces it. Leslie's dying upstairs laughing about something.
Okay.
Okay. And then he comes in the studio kind of way late. Yeah. And then he plays like a ripping solo. And when John has to record that and remove his solo, he's pissy.
Yeah.
And obviously that dynamic doesn't work. You're a hired gun, do what you're told. When you have someone that's capable of adding that element that's missing, but you don't let him do it, I think they could be as good as they were if Phil X and John Bon Jovi actually sat in a room writing together. Or at least,
really interesting.
Or at least like when my friend Rafa comes with this band. Rafa is an amazing songwriter, and he plays chords, sings, and there's zero riffs in nowhere. I'm like, okay, let's take those chords, but actually, you okay up there? She's, I think she's dying.
Do you want to check on her? Make sure she's okay.
Wait. Leslie, are you okay? Hello? She can't stop laughing.
Fair enough. So it's not a bad thing, surely.
What I do is I take of course, if you write a riff, it's all good and it comes, naturally, but you can take a chord progression.
Yeah.
The danger is when you're writing a riff that it's too monotone. It's staying on one note, and then singing over it is difficult. But if you have a chord progression, writing a riff to connect those notes instead of just power chords, you do some connecting notes, you move the rhythm around a bit, and you can come up with a riff around those chords that works. And I frequently do that. I actually had to explain to Rafa what a riff is. Like, it's not just chords, it's actually doing something. Imagine a chord progression with melodic elements or rhythmic elements. And that element to me is missing. Difficult. That element is missing in Bon Jovi nowadays. But of course, who's going to tell billionaire John Bon Jovi, who's a billionaire because he's written songs that everyone knows, that maybe you need some help, or maybe think about a different way of approaching what you're doing? I think even in the range where he's singing now, put Phil X on top. The energy is missing. The last Bon Jovi album, the energy is gone. And I don't think it's necessarily because nobody else other than Richie can bring it. It's because they're not aware that that's what's missing. It's just like, okay, it's just good. It's forgettable in a way. Kind of sad.
Absolutely. I mean, do you think that there are still classic rock stars out there? You know, that it's like you talk about Bon Jovi in the 80s and their heyday, and that meant so much to you. But I know it's probably quite a tough question, but it's like, are there still rock legends out there? You know, bands that mean so much. It's quite interesting. I was talking to someone earlier on today, and I know you said, you know, you were obviously annoyed about Nirvana and the grunge scene, obviously like changing everything for you from the 80s transitioning into the 90s. But they pointed out, I was watching a YouTube video on this, they pointed out that if Nirvana, obviously they changed everything at that moment in time in the early 90s, but if they were around now, would they still have as much as an impact as what they did back then? And I don't know what your thoughts are, but I don't think that they would, because I think it's so hard now to get heard above the noise as well. And I don't know if I'm right in saying this, but when I was looking at some stats as well a couple of days ago, that I think someone pointed out to me on Facebook that apparently 60,000, I don't know if I'm right in saying this correct stats here, 60,000 songs are released on Spotify every single day. So it's like we always go back to those nostalgic bands that we listen to. So I might go back to Nirvana, you might go back to Bon Jovi, but are there any new exciting bands now coming out that can change the world again, do you feel?
Absolutely not. 100% not. By the way, Adam, I see what you're doing with the halfway there. Pretty funny. Pretty funny.
What's he saying?
What you say the last album was halfway there. Get it? Whoa. Halfway there.
That was quite funny.
Pretty funny. That British man. Okay. I don't think it's going to be that way again, because 60,000 songs a day. I don't follow music anymore. I listen to music when I drive somewhere, which is extremely rare. I got gas once in 6 months. So that's when I listen to music in my car. And sadly, oftentimes I just turn on the radio, which is total shit music, because I don't even know what to listen to, because I have bands that I like. Okay, it might be Shinedown, it might be Blackstone Cherry, it might be heavier stuff, it might be lighter stuff. I wish there was a new Marcone album. And I go on Apple Music. I would never ever do what's that called? Spotify. Never in a million years. And I go like, okay, let's see who's got a new album. And my mind's blank. I can't even think of the bands that I like. I don't know.
Yeah.
Even though, I mean, not even new bands, I don't even know how I would hear about them. The sad thing is, I know it's very, very sad, but it all annoys me more than it gives me pleasure. Like,
wow,
I'm not enjoying music anymore. Because
really,
it's just, I was riding my bike, which I rarely do, and I put together a playlist, and there was a lot of Blackstone Cherry and Shinedown, like some really powerful rock music, and I actually had a really good time. But that is very rare that I'm just enjoying music anymore. There is so much of it, and let's take Nirvana.
Yeah,
there was a certain music that defined the time, and they broke that. And that's why they had such an impact. They changed the attitude of how to make music. What's today's attitude? There isn't a trend anymore. Radio stations don't define trends. MTV is doing reality shows.
Yeah.
There is no trend. All the music is there. Okay.
TikTok. TikTok's just taken over that sort of stuff as well with,
But I mean, what music is the going music? There is speed metal. There's Swedish death metal. There is still the new metal-y kind of thing. It's all there. What band would come in and defy? What would you even defy? Back then, the hair metal and the polished metal and the people that could play were the thing on the scene. Yeah. What is the scene to rebel against?
There isn't one, I don't think. Do you think there is one?
No, I wouldn't know. I don't even know what to listen to when I get in the car. I don't know what the scene is.
Absolutely. I think, again, it's like, to me, in my late 30s, I look back on the bands I loved as a nostalgic thing. But then again, my other half, she listens to the radio all the time on the way to work, and that's what she enjoys. So she always educates me on new music all the time. I've been a mastering engineer. She said, look, you've got to keep up to date with all this new music that's coming through to know what potentially your clients, how they want to be mastered, for example. However, I think that there are some great bands still out there doing their thing. You mentioned Shinedown. That was actually our second ever date, Shinedown. And they absolutely effing tore the roof off the place. And they're absolutely amazing live. But as much as I love Shinedown, they've not changed anything, I don't feel. However, they're just an awesome band. So maybe it's the fact that we just find bands as and when and share them with our friends, and that's it. But yet, I also mentioned TikTok. TikTok now has a massive impact on the charts and what people are now consuming as well. So I don't know if it's changed, but I would love to see scenes again. But like you said, Henning, I don't think that's ever going to happen ever again. And it's crazy.
As you said, there are so many new songs nowadays, and everyone which really, really annoys me. Here's our new single. No, it's fucking not your new single. You have a song that you posted on either what's that thing where you post audio? SoundCloud.
Yeah.
You can't post something on SoundCloud and call it a single. You cannot make a YouTube video. I mean, everything is a YouTube video. You make a music video, post it on your band's YouTube channel, and say, here's our new single. First of all, any song released is a single. Then 60,000 singles are released every day.
Yeah.
A single is a single when you, first of all, have a 10-0, an 11-0, a 12-0. When you have a collection of songs, then you can take a song and make it a single. If you have a single song, it's not a single. Yeah. Then it's just a song, okay? And
absolutely.
And here's our single release from the album. If there's no album, then it's not a single. It really, really, really annoys me when the radio stations go like, here's the new hit from. No one's ever heard it. How is it a hit? They already know it's going to be a hit because they're paid to play it so many times that people just have to like it. If they're calling it a hit before the song's been heard by anyone, it's all bought and paid for. But I really don't think check out the new Neil Morse Band album. No, he's a freaking religious nut. I don't want to hear about baby Jesus. Okay, he was the main driving force and vocalist and keyboard player for one of the keyboard players for Spock's Beard.
Oh right, okay.
Mind blowing, like the neo prog, absolutely amazing. But then he found Jesus and just went completely nuts. And it's all about, he's literally singing Jesus, Jesus, baby, baby on the altar of the Lord, rain down your God jizz on me, or whatever he's singing about. It's just horribly, blatantly religious.
So it's changed, fair enough.
And not my cup of tea. I love the guy. He's a mind-blowing musician. Just so I don't think there's a lot of music that I can listen to and I'm very amazed by. And sometimes there are bands that you hear. It's not about Jesus, really. Okay, fine. Hurry up. I'll see. Sometimes an act makes it, is very popular, and you just have to say, yeah, they freaking deserve it. They're huge, multi-billionaires, and they're there not just because the record industry put money into it or whatever, but just because, yeah, that makes sense. That's good. Adele is one of those artists, for example.
Absolutely agree. Yeah.
Like, you say whatever about pop, rock music, if you can have a song that is ultimately powerful, and you hear it all the time on the radio, and after years, you're like, wait a second. That's just piano and her. There's no arrangement. There's no band. I'm like, I never realized that. It's, oh my God, that song is so big. And I almost imagine there's a full production, and I'm listening like, nope. That's piano and her. And that's playing on the radio. And there's so much about what she does that is admirable. I would probably say Pink. Similarly, there's some good stuff where you just say, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, poppy, okay, but well deserved. And some other people, of course, too, especially singer-songwriter artists. But especially in metal, what I'm missing, and Glenn Fricker wanted to do a video about that, which would have been very ranty. Where are the riffs?
Yeah.
Like, I just edited a video for my friend China Mike with John Brown in it. And I mean, John is mind-blowing. Here's the thing about John. When I see John play, I want to know what's going on. I don't know what he's doing. And it always sounds amazing. It sounds fresh. It sounds new. It sounds like something that I don't know what's going on guitar, and I studied it. I want to know what he's doing. I want to be able to play that. But it sounds like a lot of these modern riffs, and there's a lot of information overload going on. So if you listen to Monuments, is actually more on the poppy side than some other bands, but especially what are these bands called? Architects or Periphery. Yeah. Periphery is just information overload from beginning to end. Animals as Leaders is really horrible. Like, I can look at Tosin Abasi and realize he's probably the most gifted guitar player technically in the world. It's insane what he does. Yeah. But I couldn't listen to that stuff for more than a minute. And the thing is, if I listen to the stuff for more than a minute and I listen to it 10 times, I still couldn't tell that song apart from the next song. Because there's so much stuff going on. And Monuments, again, John Brown, I have the highest respect for the man and I want to play like this. But there's all these like cool rhythms and stuff going on. Yeah, but then the next song has these cool rhythms going on just slightly differently. And bringing us back to, hey, Krenner, bringing us back, buy my speakers, Krenner, €450 and they're yours. Or actually anyone's who's watching. I've got some Eve Audio SE205s on sale.
Is that on your eBay, or is that available?
No, it's in my room over there. Can I just ask earlier privately, like, hey, what speakers should I buy? I don't have a big budget. And I just, in my video switching room, I had Eve Audio SE205s, which are way overpowered for that room. They're actually really nice speakers.
Yeah.
and I just replaced them for some small IK Multimedia ones. Thank you, IK Multimedia. So I just have these sitting there. I have 3 or 4 pairs of monitor speakers just sitting around now. So they need to go at some point.
Is it the
if anyone's interested, contact me.
MTMs, is it that you've got the IK Multimedias that you've got in there?
The bigger ones, yeah.
Yeah, like the full, yeah.
Yeah, really small, really powerful, and especially for a video switching station, more than good enough. I've got them in both my video studios. But yeah, back to John. I love what he does. I really like that sound. But when we get back to Living on a Prayer, we get back to a little bit heavier riff in the Bon Jovi world. Raise Your Hands.
Yeah.
Let's get back to even a You Give Love a Bad Name. Okay. Wait, guitar. I need a guitar. I have no guitar. Damn it. I mean, we're talking moving power chords, right? It's ultra simple.
Yeah.
But it has a melody. It's memorable.
Yeah,
it's not just and make it busier, but have that melody aspect in there. And more modern bands, Shinedown, or Blackstone Cherry, any of these, but metal bands, whether it's Megadeth, Metallica, all those classic riffs were classic riffs that stuck in your mind, and you heard the riff, and I could immediately tell from the first couple seconds, that's that song. And I might be too old. Here comes a copyright strike. Sorry.
Oh, no.
I don't know if it's just me, but I don't think it is. I don't know if you can tell all these genty, modern, really fast, busy riffs apart, because there's so much stuff going on. Exactly. Adam says it. You have to have hooks that you can whistle. And
yeah, I agree.
Back in the day, riffs were hooky. Now riffs are powerful, and that's really cool. And again, I really, really highly respect the technicality that goes into it and the complexity. But if every riff is very complex and has a lot of notes, let's go back to what Miles Davis said. The music is what's happening between the notes. And when there is no between the notes, you know, where's the music? I mean, look at that Bon Jovi riff. It's ultra simple. It's literally just power chords, but it works. So I don't know if I'm missing that in a lot of the heavier music nowadays.
Yeah.
Stuff that you can remember. Dream Theater is similar. I mean, Petrucci likes to go and just, you know, lots of single notey stuff. But where's the melodic aspect? Where's the stuff that I can remember? I mean, when we're talking, let's do copyright. Like, why does it get stuck in your head? Well, because harmonically, it's fucked up. Okay, yeah. It's notes that shouldn't go together. He didn't care.
No,
it's a 4-note melody, and it's a very specific rhythm.
Absolutely.
So where are those types of riffs with that simplicity that within seconds, you know, that's that band? And nowadays, I don't really hear that a lot.
No, I agree with you. Absolutely agree. And it's a shame. And I think it'd be great if those bands, you know, came around again. You know, maybe, so sometimes I hear it on the radio and I'm now thinking, oh, this song's going somewhere. This is going to be great. And then it's like, oh, then it just goes and dies a death. And the chorus never happens, because to me, I love great choruses.
You got to get to the chorus.
Absolutely.
Actually, here's the funny thing is the most memorable guitar riff of the last 10 years that I can think of if I have to think of one right now, is Pink.
Okay.
And she's singing it along with the guitar. It's like, na 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 na.
Yeah.
That actually was a guitar riff that the Swedish guy from that hit factory in Sweden that write for everyone wrote. And then she came and said, that's a song, I'm taking it, I'm buying it. And she just sang along with it. But that's a guitar riff. What about the Seven Nation Army? That's a riff.
White Stripes. Yeah.
That's a riff. Where is that material? If all the music, 60,000 songs a day, come out and it's just a blur of drop D, drop C, whatever chunk of stuff. I mean, I can write that stuff all day, but can I write one that really sticks with you? I don't know. Yeah,
it's absolutely true. Raw Blood for me, and I don't know what your thoughts on Raw Blood, but it's really interesting.
I've heard some because I had to do a pedal where someone said, can you do the Raw Blood sound?
Yeah, absolutely. And they, whether you love them or hate them, they brought back riffs.
Absolutely, 100%, absolutely. Too bad it's on bass because that sucks.
Yes, I know. I was there thinking, oh man, if you just had a guitarist in the band as well.
he's doing a good job.
But you've only got 4 strings, mate. You've only got 4 strings. It's
me as an arranger, where all the parts kind of like come together. It's like, oh my god, what I would love to do stuff with. But I mean, it's good. It's pumping. It's poppy, but it's rocky because of what he does. It's really good.
Yeah.
And yeah, he plays riffs. Absolutely. I haven't heard enough to say that they're memorable, but yes, absolutely, that's what's happening.
Yeah, completely. Well, to be fair, if he won over, I don't know what your thoughts on Jimmy Page, but if they won over Jimmy Page, then maybe they're on the right track. I don't know. If they're getting the nod from from the rock gods, as it were. I've got to ask you there, Henning. So obviously, I know you've got a bonkers, crazy guitar collection. I know we've touched on amps as well. And I know that you've done everything from Harley Benson's all the way up to, the, like you said, the Megabucks guitars. Have you got a pickup that you love the most? Have you got a favorite pickup? Or do you just forever change your mind?
You had to go there. You had to go to where I have to yell at you. You have to go where I'm going to have to yell at you.
Okay, fair enough. Go ahead.
So you want to actually tell me you have a favorite pickup?
I tend to. So basically, when I pick up a guitar, obviously I love my Epiphone, but I've always, I don't know why, I've always loved, you're probably going to go, no, but I've always loved P90s. I don't know why. I've always really had this fondness for their, a Marshall with a P90 sound, and I've always loved that. But I've also got, I'm guessing you must have used one before, but I've got, one of my friends built me a guitar from scratch. We went around a timber yard together, knocking on different types of wood. I had no idea what I was doing, but we built this guitar from scratch. But I bought a Seymour Duncan triple shot pickup, so I can switch between a humbucker, a single coil, and a P90 just on the fly, on the go. And that is my favorite pickup because I can switch between the 3 different sounds. So
okay, I will give you like P90s, absolutely. Okay. I get why. Love P90s. They are fat single coils. Single coils in the bridge for me don't do it. P90 totally works, but you've got that single coil wiriness. I totally like the fact that you go for that Seymour Duncan because of its flexibility.
Yeah.
But there are people who say, I like the Lola Imperial. I like the Seymour Duncan. What are the Sunset Hot something? I don't know. And I always go like, how do you know? You take the pickup and put it on your ear. Like you can't say. Alex is here. Alex, you can't say you like that pickup. It's complete utter bullshit. You have to say I like that pickup in that guitar. Yeah. Because a pickup isolated means absolutely nothing. A pickup in your hand doesn't have a sound.
You're right.
Now, if you go and you take that one pickup and you put it in 10 guitars, and you can describe that all guitars change in a certain way that you then attribute to the pickup, then I give you like that pickup. Absolutely. But saying put that pickup in that guitar, it will do this and this. It's utter, complete bullshit.
Fair enough. Can't argue with you at all. However, I will go there, and I think someone's just mentioned it as well. So he says, who cares about favorite pickup? As you said, Henning, the fretboard radius is where it's all about. So,
Pity, shut your trap. Pick up the guitar and make music instead of talking about fretboard radius. I don't give a flying rat's ass about flatboard radius.
Yeah.
I don't care about how thick the neck is. I don't care about radius.
Yeah.
I pick up the guitar. That guitar will do a certain thing for me. Yeah. Thick ass neck, I play a certain way. Thinner neck, I'll play a certain way. If I want to play solo stuff, I'll probably pick up this baby. If I want to riff really heavy, I'm not going to pick this up because it's got a fucking single coil in the back. React to the instrument. Do what it wants you to do. Don't force that instrument to be something. Yeah, so with pickups, I know you were kidding. With pickups, my point is the guitar does an awful lot. I just reviewed the new Dullahan Headless from Harley Benton. The first series wasn't very good. Was very dull. It was called Dullahan, and it was a dull guitar.
Yeah.
And now they changed the bridge. The individual saddles that were on it are now, because they were all kind of mounted crooked because cheap guitar, they're all now in a on a metal plate where they all get screwed into the grooves on the metal plate. Therefore, they're now straight. And that 1 or 2 millimeter metal plate gets mounted on the guitar. And I get the guitars, and they're all bright. They're way too bright, actually. All the dullness is gone. String separation is better. They got quite a bit better. Still not amazing, but the sound changed drastically. And I say to the guy, are these new pickups? He said, nope, exactly the same pickups.
That's so cool.
They put a metal plate under the bridge.
Yeah.
Completely different sound. So, is this pickup dull or is this pickup too bright? Because actually it's both. So would you then say, oh, I really want a dull sound. I'm going to take those pickups and put them in X guitar, which has completely different woods, a different bridge, different nut, different everything.
Yeah.
When people say, I like that pickup, I get very annoyed.
Just realized.
Because no, you do not like that pickup. You like that pickup in that guitar you played. Unless, again, you take the pickup, you put it in 10 different guitars. Like when Nick Huber puts Häusl pickups in his guitars.
Yeah.
Here's a question. Are Häusl pickups revered as really good pickups because traditionally they actually only show up in very high-end guitars, and the guitars are so good that, yeah, everything works and the pickup is perceived as very, very good? Yeah. Or are those guitars so good because the pickups are so good? Nobody knows. Let's put that Häusl in a shitty guitar, see what happens. Nobody does that. Nobody puts a 500, 600 euro set of pickups in a shitty guitar. It's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy. You put good pickups in a good guitar and everyone says, oh, the pickups are so good. No,
it's the guitar.
They are good pickups, but they're also in a very good guitar. Okay, you can't separate the two. I'm getting pickups from Dirk Baggerle now, who does the aluminum guitars. Mm-hmm. And he said, can you test them for me? I'm like, I have a PRS SE250, big, thick rock guitar. I'm like, yeah, I have fluents in them right now, which are doing a great job, but I know what the guitar is supposed to sound like. I know what I want from that guitar. I'll put them in there because I know what that guitar is capable of.
Yeah.
And if in there I get a kick-ass sound and it's open and it gets string separation and good output, then I know, okay, the pickups didn't make it worse. But will they deliver? Here's the thing. His guitars are hollow body aluminum guitars.
No way.
Some of them. If he designed his pickups for that sound, where the guitar is extremely bright to begin with because of the materials, putting them into an all mahogany guitar will probably be extremely dull. That's my prediction, because the pickups are probably made so to counteract the brightness of the aluminum. Putting them in an all mahogany guitar, probably way too dull, but we'll see.
Absolutely, man. That's so cool.
My approach with pickups is let the guy who builds the guitar decide what goes in there, because they know the whole system. They built the whole system. Let them decide. You see, Alex goes with his pearly gates and blah, blah, blah. He bought a PRS from me, put different pickups in there, and he tells himself now that it's so much better. You know why? Because he spent extra money on it. Therefore, it has to be better.
I find this with sound engineers, that they tend to, buy, I don't know, a £5,000 compressor, and all of a sudden, they think that, their studio is better because of it. And it's like, no, surely it's like it's your ears rather than the compressor that you're using and your skill that you're doing. Like you said, it just goes back to the song analogy again. Like you said, it's just like it goes back to simplicity. But yeah, I talk to lots of engineers that are absolutely killing it, that are in the box, and they mix in the box, and they master in the box, and yet they've got amazing converters. We look at Andrew Sheps, for example. You're probably aware of this yourself, Henning, but how he mixes under headphones, and yet back in the day, absolutely, people would have absolutely just cried over that prospect. And I think times are changing. But with that in mind, going back to amps, with amps as in amp sims and plugins, do you feel that they're getting better? Do you feel that they're evolving in the right way? Have you found some sims that you really like using at the minute, or do you feel that they're not quite there yet?
They're absolutely getting ridiculously better.
Yep.
Anyone who can take Amplitude, or there's I just reviewed it, and I can't even remember. It was just 3 amps from some company in the Czech Republic. Rock Essentials from some company. If any of these, or Guitar Rig from Native Instruments, if you do an album and you can't get the most amazing guitar sounds and make any guitar player happy with those in-the-box plugins, don't make an album. You're an idiot. Would I do it having real amps in the room? No. Why? I have a real amp. It's better. It is better. It feels different. It feels more immediate. It responds to the guitar differently. It's more fun. There's a difference when you're playing. When you're listening on an album with double tracks and effects and vocals, which are the most important thing, and a kick drum and a snare drum. Look at Chris Lord Algae. Vocals, kick and snare. Everything is secondary. That needs to be there. Everything is secondary. So if you can't get an amazing guitar sound with Amplitude for like $200-300, then you don't know what you're doing. Would I use it here? No, I have amps. I have any load box on the freaking planet. I'd be stupid not to go to the real amp, which is fun. Do I have to use that to make music? Absolutely not. Nowadays, realistically, get a universal audio interface, tabletop thingy, what was called Apollo Twin X4, whatever. You got kick-ass converters. You can record and burn the plugins on the disc. Don't do it later. If you know what you're doing, you can record with it. Don't do reamping. Reamping means you don't know what you're doing. I know, Adam, you're doing that, but don't do it. Just make a decision, record it, stick with it. That's how you learn. If you can fix your problems later, as in produce, mix, fix, get that out of it. Don't fix later. Learn. Commit to memory, put it on the disc. I don't think reamping is a good idea, because you need to feel the amp. You're responding to the amp. You're playing differently. Recording a DI and then sending that into a different amp isn't that performance.
So interesting that you say that, though, because I mean, I've talked to obviously loads and loads of engineers over the past few months. You know, had the absolute honor of talking to so many people, including yourself, and it's so many pros. And a lot of them, I'm sure you've come across this yourself as well in studio, but a lot of them, they do as a backup use DI to reamp later. But it's like you said there, Henning. It's just like where's the cutoff point? Where you go, there's the sound. There's the sound for the album.
Here's an example. We did a contest on Produce Like a Pro. That band that I'm producing, a campaign like clockwork, sent all the tracks in, and Glenn Fricker was doing a live stream where he was mixing that. Yeah. And before he even listened to the guitar sounds, whatever, his first thing was, oh, where's the DI? I want to reamp that. I'm like, why in the world would you have the audacity as a mix engineer to think that you have a say in the guitar sound? I'm sorry to say, but that's the producer's job. And there's a producer, there's a guitar player, there's mountains of amps, there's a direction of where the album's supposed to go. Your job as a mix engineer is to make what you're given sound good.
Yeah.
And yes, maybe you have a similar amp and you think you can get that sound that's kind of like, he would have gone and sent it high gain through his riff without even listening to it and getting the idea of where it's supposed to go. His attitude was, I can immediately make that better because I have better amps. But look at the source. If I'm getting this from a couple of kids that have a Spider at home or a Pod, okay, maybe those kids would be well advised to record a DI because it's going to a studio with 40 amps.
Yeah.
But when you're getting a mix from a studio with 40 amps, wouldn't your first idea be, wait a second, I'm pretty sure they spend time finding the right sound, and what is given to me is what they want. So let's filter out some low end. Let's get it to sit in the mix. But what we have here is the right sound. Of course, it wasn't a heavy metal sound, which Glenn wanted, because it wasn't a heavy metal song. Why would you question my choice of guitar sound, given the fact that this is what I do for a living? So reamping is fiddling with stuff that you have no right fiddling with. That's one thing for me. Now, of course, if it's a metal thing, and you're going for metal, and you're a band, and this is going to Lasse Lammert, okay?
Yeah.
Who has any metal amp in the world and has extremely good ears and knows how to get the sound. Yeah, maybe include a DI. I would hope that Lasse listens to what they've done and say, I don't have to reamp that. I don't have to always add, my salt in the mix. This is good. If it's not good, it's a fallback. And in metal, okay, you're going for a sound that's not very compressed. You're going for a reaction. You're going for an amp that does a certain thing. But I know this is tough for people to understand out there. There is other music than metal.
It's true.
There's music where maybe you want it to be a little bit squishy. Maybe you want it to be a fuzzy sound. Maybe you want it to be not punching. Maybe you want it to be kind of thin with really cool shimmery delays on it. Let me see what Adam is saying. Exactly. I would assume Adam Steele knows what he wants from a guitar sound, so record it and commit. Of course, if he gets something from a band and they know he's got a rev and blah, 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 and they're saying, look, we just did this, the guitar recording is done badly with a crappy mic in the wrong position, feel free. If the band says feel free to use the DI, that's okay. And maybe you would go for an amp that does react similarly than yours. But for example, if I'm playing with a JTM style amp, okay, ultra dynamic, I'm like, I really hold back, gently strum, I have cleans, I dig in, I have distortion. If I dig in too much, it's squishing and it's fuzzing out a bit. This goes to a guy that pumps it into a super headroom VH4 diesel. that will never squish, that'll never sound fuzzy, that'll never be classic rocky. Well, that's the wrong amp to reamp with. And what is wanted is obviously a discussion between producer, guitar player, vocalist who sits in the back and gives his freaking 2 cents that no one's asked about, bass player coming from the kitchen with coffee. Like, no, that doesn't sound good. How? Shut up. You know what I'm talking about. So there's a whole process to find the sound.
Yeah.
And oftentimes, Amplion, thank you, Jindrich. Amplion was what I was looking for.
Ah, right, cool.
Rock Essentials, great plugin. Review on my channel. So if oftentimes with Campaign Like Clockwork, we're sitting here, we recorded something, we come back a week later, and then we go like, no. Now that we recorded other stuff, those rhythm guitars really don't work. Yeah. Now, would it be easier to have a DI to then send into another amp? I don't think it would be, because I'm playing that other amp differently. I might, with the other amp, all of a sudden go, which we did, pick up a semi-hollow guitar, and all of a sudden, instead of playing power chords, you're playing the open chords because it just works better.
Yeah,
it's not an amp, a guitar, a DI signal. It isn't an isolated thing. If you play, and with that one amp, you have that one note, like going into the beautiful harmonic, just sitting there. You're letting that note sit. That's in the moment with that amp. And I'm going to give that DI to some guy who's recording it differently, and all of a sudden that note doesn't do that. No, I'm committing. I'm even committing delays and all the stuff in front and in the effects loop, which I've never done.
Wow. Okay.
Back in the days, I did that in the box, RE20 plugin, RE201 plugin. Yep. But you tell me that when the delay goes on later, in your performance recording it, you're playing the same thing. You're not going to play the same thing. If I'm playing something with a real delay, it's coming in the gaps, dotted eighth. I'm playing half the notes on the guitar that I'm playing if the delay was off.
Absolutely fair enough.
Think about it this way: a delay is not an effect.
Yeah.
A delay, if it's high up in the mix and it's adding notes, it's actually an arranging tool because I'm adding notes. If I'm adding notes, it's not an effect anymore. It's adding notes to the arrangement. So all of a sudden, I'm arranging differently. If I'm arranging differently, I'm playing differently. And if I turn the delay off, imagine the notes are there. No, you have to play off the effect.
Absolutely. And that's how, some would argue against this, I suppose. And I know U2 have never really escaped their dotted eighth sound, but to me, in my ears, the way that Edge plays guitar, that isn't an effect. That's so great you said that, Henning. That's so cool. I love that. But the fact that that's their sound and it's not an effect, it's adding notes to the song and giving it more strength as well, to my ears anyway.
Think of it this way. An effect is something that the song can totally do without. Let's say I do a univibe. It's a swooshy, whooshy kind of thing. And I play... Now, if this has swoosh, swoosh or not, it's not going to change the notes.
Yeah.
Right? A delay, a reverb is adding more space or less space. Yeah. If it's a really, really drastic reverb, it could also add tail and therefore make the note longer. Therefore, there's more note in a place where before there wasn't, so then it's arranging again. But with the delay, if I'm doing this, or it's doing ding, 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 I've just added 4 notes where there before weren't any. Therefore, it is a different song. So you can't do that song without the delay. So I don't think it's an effect. It is literally an arranging tool. And to really play the part right, you have to have it on while you're recording. Now, of course, there is the option, for example, to say you're recording that on separate tracks.
Yeah.
You could go and you can nowadays with low latency, monitor the plugins live, and then you're not committing. But the thing is, why not commit? And I'm even going to go as far as say, because I've been down that road for years, I've only done effects in the box. I haven't encountered, and I don't know why that is, but I haven't encountered plugins that make me as happy as the Outboard boxes. I'm not talking about like real tape delay and stuff like this, but
Sure.
it's weird. I have the universal audio delay here, and I have those delays as plugins.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd rather turn the box on and have it in my amp. I feel that that's more, it's a more better sound, more better. Or the Strymon boxes. I don't, they're creative tools. They're not a little bit of room to put on the snare, okay? They are a creative thing. I've rarely actually found a plug-in delay that I really, really like. There's the RE201, the space delay from Universal Audio, and Native Instruments has a delay called which I always forget. What's the Native Instruments delay called? Do you know?
I don't. We can Google it just to find out.
It's not reflector.
Don't tend to use them often.
It's very cool.
Sure, someone will be able to comment on that.
Come on. Native Instruments delay. Anyone?
Replica?
Yes, Replica. And there's a big one, and it's fully stereo. You can do, which tabs you have on what side, and then it goes through. The tail can go through flanger or phaser.
Yeah.
It can sound analog. It can sound tapey. It's very cool, and I might use that on vocals. Like I wouldn't use a vocal delay on tracking. Okay, obviously with vocals, I'm tracking that dry.
Yeah.
And that is then a mix gimmick here or there. Use it on certain things, but with guitars, I've really gone over to wah isn't necessary in any song.
Oh dear.
I don't know. Sometimes, but realistically, with guitars, what I now do, and I know that's bragging on a high level, but I really commit so much that I don't really mix the guitars. All my guitar channels are at 0 dB, hard left, hard right.
Mm-hmm.
Cleans, oftentimes doubled, left, right. And I'm German, left, right, get it? Don't talk about the war. Don't talk about it. Don't mention the war. And I go onto groups, and really all I do is I move the group up and down. But effects usually completely on the guitars, even volumes. If I kind of want it quieter in the mix, I might record it quiet. I don't know. It's my guitars. They're just sitting there, and I don't do anything to them. If I wanted to sit right in the mix, I don't EQ it. I just record the sound that works in the mix.
That's really interesting. I remember I was in a band a couple of years ago, just for fun, and I remember having an argument with the guitarist at the time, and he said to me, I said, look, I want to play this delay. It sounds great. I love it. And he's there going, no, we'll just do it clean. We'll just do a DI, and then we'll do it afterwards. And thank you so much, Henning, because now I agree with you. And I know people might disagree with that. And I'm sure there's like loads of mix engineers that will disagree with what you've said. But as a guitarist, I definitely agree with you. The fact that committing to a sound straight away and going with it is brilliant. And I was interviewing Mike Extra a few months ago, who's done some great albums, and he said to me, me being a mastering engineer, I think this was a bit of advice from him to me, and he said a great mastering engineer gets the fuck out the way. And and like you said, so with a mix engineer, it's almost like the mix engineer is getting the fuck out of the way of the producer. So, you know, so it's just making sure that, you know, that yes, the song is served, but it's just making sure that, you know, they're not changing what was initially put down originally.
Well, I mean, in a production, you're working with the band, you're working with the guitar player as a band, and the producer, you're making decisions.
Yeah.
And it happened on that a Campaign Like Clockwork song that was then mixed like 2,000 times on Produce Like a Pro.
Yeah.
And I think almost everything was guitar-wise committed to the tracks, except for a delay in the reverb on the guitar in the beginning. And I mean, there's a consensus in the room. There's a magic in the room when you're doing something with the effects and everything, which again are part of the arrangement. And then all those 2,000 mix engineers had different ideas of what that delay sound in the beginning was supposed to be.
Yeah.
And some worked and some didn't. Also with, I think, the reverb on the drums. Big toms. Some made them cavernous and huge and completely destroyed it. Some made them way too close and personal. Didn't work. So, I mean, you can play around with ideas as a mix engineer, but I think that what was discussed and felt in the production has a lot to do with how the song flows and where it goes. Like if you're putting again, I come back to Univibe because it's such a, you know, psychedelic kind of a sound. I mean, I have a real tape delay here. So you put that on, feedback up, overdrive on, Univibe, and you make me play open chords. I can probably just strum that one chord. It just sits there. Don't have to do anything. I'm in my own world. I do the next one. Now I turn all that stuff off. I'm not going to do... Oh, man, dude, that's so freaking awesome. I don't have to do shit. Listen to that. Oh, man, that's totally... It's still... Whoa, and the delay's coming up. You turn that off, okay? And you say, imagine that's happening. Here's what am I going to do. I'm going to try to fill the space.
Yeah, completely.
So then that goes to a mix engineer. What are they going to do? Are they going to put on the Univibe and the big delay? Because, of course not, because each note that I played will then get delayed again. So what could have been achieved with one chord and a beautiful atmosphere then turns into something completely different. Yeah. So I really think that what a producer and a band experiences in the room and work out, it shouldn't be removed and then touched again. Of course, if we talk about metal, how much Univibe and delays in metal? Not that much. For metal productions, I get it. I get it in a way to saying, okay, let's record a DI version. Because oftentimes you have possibly a digital amp. You might have a quad cortex. You might have a God beware, a Kemper or whatever. And it's going to someone who's got real amps. In the end, would it make it better? Who knows? But you also know kind of what you're going for. And it's totally okay that a local band doesn't have money to buy a $4,000 ref, okay? I totally get that. So it might be different for metal. But a mix engineer shouldn't immediately go and say, without having even heard the song, saying, why is there no DI? I can't do anything with that. Well, listen to the song first, maybe, and maybe you don't have to do anything. Not every guitar has to be wall-moving massive, because you know sometimes you don't need that. That's music where it's not necessary.
It's really interesting you say that, because people are just, as you said, have got so many pre-assumptions I've come across as well. So, for example, I've done a master for a client, and this is, you know, about a year or two ago, and they basically said, oh, there's too much distortion in the master. I was like, hold on a minute. Okay, let's just go back to this. And I went back to the client and I said, have you actually listened to your mix? no, I've not listened to the mix at all. So I'm there going, well, you need to go back. Exactly. You need to go back and listen to the mix. So it's so interesting because they automatically think that, someone, else is going to fix a problem when they've not even actually listened to the original thing in the first place. So like what you said, like with a mix engineer saying, oh, I can't touch this if there's, no DI on there. Yes, you can. You just need to use your ears and then take it from there. That's it. It's just that's all we need to do.
I mean, nowadays the tools are freaking amazing. We have way too many tools, and probably information overload, and probably too good tools for many people. Like, I stopped looking at plugins a long time ago because it's ridiculous. How do you know what to use with 1,000 plugins on your computer? I mean, maybe you have the whole Steven Slate collection, then you have the whole Waves mega bundle, and maybe even some Universal Audio stuff. And then Plugin Alliance makes everything under the sun that you could possibly use. And if you're a studio that has the money, of course, you subscribe to Plugin Alliance, $29 a month or whatever, you get other plugins. But then you need a compressor. What do you go for? Like, you have literally 150 different compressors, and you can't tell me that you know the behavior of every one of these compressors, how it's going to affect that instrument you're mixing, and that you know exactly out of those 150 what the end result will be. Best and most important life lesson I learned was from my mentor in sound design at Berkeley, Dr. Tom Ray. He wrote the manual for the Mini Moog.
Wow.
Big guy in the synth world.
That's crazy. That's awesome.
And Tom said, I'm going to blow your mind now.
Do it.
The definition of a professional in any field is someone who can predict the near future. You're a surgeon. I'm going to take the scalpel. I'm going to stab this guy in the heart. Before you do it, you should be able to say, he's going to die. Don't do it. I mean, anyone can tell you that, okay? But in his world, he needs to be able to predict that near future. Now, in your world, ideally, don't fiddle around with the threshold. Know that I'm hearing something in my head. I want this to be more compressed. When I will reach for this knob and I will turn it to the left by roughly this much, the result will be the following. So don't fiddle around until it's right. Know what you want and then reach for the right knob. You're not reaching for the level control. You're not reaching for the output level. You know you want more compression. So you're not doing anything. You're going for either ratio or you're going for threshold.
Yeah.
And you're doing that because you can predict the near future of what's going to happen. Even more simple, the guitar is too loud. I want the guitar to be quieter. When I take this fader and I move it down, the result in the near future will be, it will be quieter. I want to take this tire off. I predict if I turn this nut to the left, the tire will come off. These are simple examples, but of course, me as a sound designer, I hear sound, I'm like, there's too much harshness in the beginning. If I take the attack of the filter a little bit back, I can actually smooth out the attack of that synth bass. So don't fiddle around with all the knobs until it's right before you reach a knob. Know what the result will be. And that's a professional in their field. You can't just go to all your plugins and all your outboard gear and just start turning knobs till it sounds right.
So that's
you can do that as a hobby. That's fine. Take all the time you need. But the big difference between a non-studied guitar player, don't want to say non-professional, but let's say non-professional.
Okay.
Non-professional in the studio. They might be the biggest band in the world. They make billions. But they'll take 3 months in the studio because some guy jams, finds a riff, and then the other guy plays around and moves shit around till it's cool. Right?
Yep.
Well, my approach, just like the approach Tim Pierce would have, who's a professional, or any of those studio guys, is, okay, let me find out what the chords are that they play. Those chords mean we are in this section of the song in E minor with a secondary dominant as the last chord. That means that we've got an E minor, we've got a G major, C major, D major, we got an A minor, we got a B minor, we got an F sharp minor flat 5. We have the secondary dominant is the B7. But do I want to play the 7? No, we're in a pop rock context. If I play that 7, it's going to sound way too bluesy. I can play 9s as extensions on the E minor and the A minor, not on the B, because it would be a flat 9. That's Kaka. We don't want that. If I play a 7 on the C and the G, it's got to be a major 7. If I play one on the D, it's got to be a 7, flat 7. I don't want to do that because, again, too bluesy. So if I make little triplet chords, if I play this the whole freaking time, I know during the E minor I can do that because it's E minor. I know I can do that during the C major because it's a C major 7. That's fine. And so on and so on. So before I play the part, I don't have to, there are things that I know work and I know don't work.
Yeah.
Coming from experience, coming from training. So the part that some really cool, half stoned out of his ass, cool, hip guy in the studio in, I don't know, Snow Patrol, is it a band?
Yeah.
I don't know if the guy can play, but you know what I mean. He's got to find his shit. And in the end, by playing around for an hour, he's going to come up with a kick-ass part. I have no problem with that. Music and magic and all that. But he's not a professional in that sense. If you hire a professional, if you hire Tim Pierce says he's got one chance by the producer to offer a part. And that means before he puts his fingers on the fretboard, he needs to go to the amp and set that up. There's no fiddling with the amp, okay? He needs to go to the amp, set that up. Sets up the effect. Listens to the part, looks at the part, and when he puts his fingers on the fretboard, what comes out needs to be the part that he wants to present to the producer. There isn't a give me 5 minutes. Because you're in an LA studio with LA studio pricing, you're hiring Tim Pierce to freaking deliver.
That's pressure. That is a serious amount of pressure.
He said there is no give me something else. It's like, this is the part. Which is when you see him play, all these things, he knows. He predicts the near future. He's got ears and he knows, I mean, this key, it's called chord scale voicings. That was a whole class at Berkeley, which of course we did for brass arranging, but it simply means I know the chords right now. And one good example, for example, would be I'm in a major key, okay? I'm in C major, and somehow there's a B major, a B flat major happening.
Yeah.
That doesn't belong in C major, right? So, and that's just a power chord. But of course, if I'm playing cool stuff on top of it, power chord doesn't help me. So how do I interpret what that should be? I have to know what other key that's borrowed from, and chances are it's going to be a major 7. And if it's a major 7, what is the scale around it? Is it Lydian? Is it Ionian? Chances are it's usually Lydian, which means what I can suggest is major. I can do major with a 9, always nice. If they want more exotic, major with a 9 and a sharp 11. But I know that the chances are very, very high that that is the right note that fits there. And you can find that by fiddling around, and that's totally fine. But you can also find it by knowing ahead of time. Does it?
But,
yeah.
Sorry, no, go ahead.
does it kill some of the magic of making mistakes?
Yeah, I love that. Absolutely, I love that. That is awesome. And I was going to say about the Beatles as well, though, because the Beatles, you know, Paul McCartney, if I'm right in saying, couldn't read a word of music, didn't really know, you know, technically what he was doing. However, he just moved his fingers around, from my understanding, and then Beatles songs were born, and it helped shape music of the future. So I guess you've got two ends of the spectrum, maybe, you know, so the musicians that just move their fingers around and play by ear, and whereas you've got the technical players that can just go, there you go, I've just done it for you, well, you know, within an instance. You know, it's really interesting.
It doesn't have to be one or the other. Someone like Tim Pierce, you hire because you need a job done. Okay, and you don't necessarily, I mean, you want amazing guitar parts. You don't necessarily want the guitar part that's going to be the next Nirvana or the next magical guitar part. He's not the guy. They asked him, when did you last make a mistake? And he couldn't even remember. And then he said, well, but also knowing all this stuff and going for the safe solution means you don't play the wrong chord, which all of a sudden is kind of like, ooh, didn't see that coming, but that's really freaking awesome. Okay, so that can absolutely, that is one of the problems. However, I don't have to deliver immediately. I can make the happy mistake. So what Tim Pierce plays on his first take, I play around. And maybe just sometimes for shits and giggles, I go like, oh, this would be wrong. But sometimes what should be right doesn't sound right in your head. And then you go to the wrong solution.
Yeah.
And you can still do that. But you save an awful lot of time by knowing what works and it doesn't. I mean, you don't go in the studio, you don't master something and just like, well, let's be stupid. Let's just start with all faders all the way up past 0 and compressor just all the way down on the threshold. Let's limit that, but then the output is at 0. Why not? I mean, the rules say it should be, something should be coming out of the compressor, but let's be a rebel. Let's put that at 0. You don't do that.
No, of course not.
So when you have a time constraint and you're a professional, a band in the studio playing around, they're not professionals. They're professional musicians. They make money with it, but they're not pros at their craft, and which is fine. And they have the budget in the £1,200 studio a day to be there for 3 months. Then let them, because then some magic can happen. And they write 50 songs and only 10 make it to the album. And they play, 20 parts and one of them works. But again, would you hire that musician to do a job when you know it takes him 3 months to do something that someone else could do literally in one take?
Financially, it doesn't make as much sense.
You wouldn't hire him as a professional. You like him as a musician in that band, Snow Patrol. I don't know. But look at Shinedown.
Yeah.
You know who played the first Shinedown album?
No, I don't.
You know who played The Sound of Madness, all the guitars?
No.
You know that the guys in Shinedown are cast and hired guns?
I didn't know that.
The guitar players in Shinedown have actually really nothing to do with the band. At least back on this, The Sound of Madness is a mind-blowing album. I think it's perfection.
I love it.
It's rock and roll. It's not ultra polished, but it's polished enough.
Yeah.
It's Tim Pierce who played all the guitars.
Really?
Yep.
I'm going to have to get my other half. She's a massive Shinedown fan, and I'm going to have to inform her of this, as well as I don't think she's got a clue about that either.
That's a cast band. That's the singer, and I think maybe the drummer. Definitely singer and producer. Wrote everything, and they're like, well, we need the best guy. And Tim Pierce knows how to freaking dial in this. That's all Tim Pierce. And I think even on the album after that, and then of course that people came in the band, and I'm pretty sure they're playing more now. But it would surprise me if they didn't go to professional musicians. I mean, how many times did a drummer wasn't able to perform? If we take Cinderella, for example, back in the 80s, that drummer never recorded anything in the studio, didn't know how to hit a snare. Kenny Aronoff, on all albums. If you need a job done, you go and you hire the guy that can do the job, and the guy that stands in the studio for 3 months to find the cool chord isn't a professional, because he wouldn't be hired to do the professional job. Like a lot of the synth guys nowadays. I did an event at Thomann with a lot of synth channels, and they don't know anything about synthesis, really. They built these modular systems, and even the guys on those channels, okay? They built these modular systems, and then I asked them, like, what do you know about synthesis and oscillator synchronization, FM, subtractive, additive, waveforms. They're like, oh, we'll fiddle with the knobs until it sounds cool. Completely shocking, ultimately shocking to me.
Crazy. No way.
You wouldn't hire them to design a sound if they charge by the hour, right? Yeah. So the question is, would you call them professionals?
That's such a tough question, though. It is
different thing. You hire a plumber to fix your toilet.
Yeah.
He'll fiddle around with it till he figures it out. Charges by the hour. Are you going to hire him? No, you want someone that knows beforehand what wrench to use with what nut and how to do it.
Otherwise, you have to get another guy in. Yeah, completely.
You hire a professional to do the job in time. Well, someone that spends 3 days at your house just trying things out and then charging you for 3 days' time. So, that's, I don't even know how we got here, but
no, that's so true. I will point out though as well, I mean, my favorite drummer, Dave Grohl, whatever anyone's thoughts are on him, but however, with Dave Grohl, he gets hired again and again and again because people know what to expect from him, and he shows up, does his part, and then heads off again into the ether. That's just the way it works.
Dave Grohl, as a drummer, might not be the technical drummer, but he's a professional drummer. You hire him because you know what you're getting.
Yeah. Trent Reznor, another one. I mean, obviously Nine Inch Nails, but I've listened to the new Halsey album, and yet Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, who I feel are both geniuses in their field, they're all over that album as well, and they've decided to take a risk and move away from what they're doing as well. But yet, immediately, as soon as you listen, Zane Lowe said this as well with the Halsey interview recently, just been released a couple of days ago, that you know immediately within the first 4 chords that it's Trent Reznor that's on there, because he's got that signature sound. Because like you said, you hire that professional, you're going to get that professional's sound, and you know that they're going to deliver.
But Dave Grohl, Trent Reznor get hired for what they do.
Yeah.
They don't get hired to be the flexible guy like a Tim Pierce or a Kerry Aronoff. They don't have to bend their skill. Dave Grohl gets hired to be Dave Grohl. And let's take Dave Grohl. Foo Fighters, mind-blowing songs here or there, doesn't know what he's doing harmonically, doesn't know anything about that part, but puts his heart and soul into it. It's rock and roll. It's true.
Yeah.
I think there's some kick-ass Foo Fighter stuff. There's also a lot of stuff that completely just doesn't out, okay, forgettable. Mm-hmm. But that's fine. He doesn't follow a formula. He doesn't. If I go to a song, I know certain things that work, certain things that don't. He might do things that don't work and just say, I did it, rock and roll, all good. Not everything has to work. Hello, Valeria. What's happening here? We're talking about Dave Grohl. It's the Dave Grohl hour here. On Produce, Mix, Fix, and Conquer.
Awesome.
So there is a big discussion. I'm talking to this vocalist who sang on one of my songs recently from Austria. She's young, very gifted guitar player and extremely gifted rock vocalist. And she's like, I don't want to learn anything because that's going to take the magic away. And, that's all fine if you want to be in your band and be up in your head in the clouds and all good. But I mean, if you want to be a professional, you need training in harmony, in vocal technique, in all that stuff. Because if you want to do it as a professional, then it makes sense to know what you're doing. It doesn't necessarily mean that it takes your spirit away. When you get out of Berkeley, you learn so much about jazz harmony and all that stuff, and all of a sudden everything needs to be a major 7/9 sharp 11.
Yeah,
that is a problem that a lot of people all of a sudden can't write the normal 3-chord song anymore. But you find your way back there.
Yeah,
you learn all this stuff, and then you learn when to use the knowledge, and when an AC/DC riff is just what the job needs. Okay, this song just needs 3 chords. The song I did yesterday for I did the Bogner mini head and wrote a song for it.
Yeah,
that's G, open D, open C. It doesn't get easier. It's shit. It's super simple. But you know what? G demolished. Perfecto. And Perfecto knows the shit, okay? He's very, very good. I was sitting here and I wasn't embarrassed to write that song because drums were going and I was playing, hey, this rocks. Okay, so what? Those 3 chords work for many people. Why wouldn't they work for a demo of a Bognam? So the knowledge doesn't have to get in your way. And getting back to your world, you need to predict what the console does, what the plugins do. And this is how we got here. The ridiculous amount of plugins and possibilities that are there. I watched Adam Steele mix a song the other day, and he was going to, I think it was Slate, or might have been plugin, but I think it was Slate, and then he picked their version of the LA2A.
Yeah.
In the end, my question is, how many LA2As do we need?
There is a lot out there.
There's a Slate one. There's a Slate. There's a Waves. I know I've got some version of an LA2A in the Native Instruments complete bundle, and everyone's got their version of it. I know IK Multimedia has them. Years ago, I said I will reduce everything I do to. Thank you, Adam. Very nice. I said I would reduce everything I do to the bare minimum. I will install the Arturia synth because it's all the classic synth. Native Instruments Complete Ultimate because that's more sounds than anyone in their life needs. That also installs some reverbs and whatever.
Yeah.
And I will stick to Universal Audio stuff. Because the Universal Audio plugins, they come with the price of that they run on the hardware, and that also means much slower export. They come at the price of you have to pay for the hardware. You're limited by the processors you have. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't just take that system and mix on the road.
Yeah.
Because I literally have 18 processors running. And the plugins are expensive.
Yeah,
okay?
They are.
$150 or $200 or whatever. However, I've done it long enough. I've been working with their stuff for 20 years and still Waves and whatever. Then they brought out the API 560, I think is the graphic EQ.
Yeah.
And I had the Waves version, put them next to each other, day and night.
Really?
And that was the day when I said Waves, not for that kind of stuff. I use Waves for original stuff that isn't classic emulations, but so does the Waves clear. First of all, the knobs weren't even responding.
Yeah, I can believe it.
Second, they weren't going where I wanted them. And secondly, it sounded really digital.
Yeah.
Cold. And the UA version, I put it on bass, warmth, fullness, it's amazing. So I stick primarily to UA stuff.
Yeah.
And even there, they unlocked everything for me. I don't want that. I don't need that. I'll stick to the few things that I know work. 1176, LA2A. I use that API EQ for kick drum and bass. You know why? No parametric stuff. I can't pick my frequencies. It's a graphic EQ. More or less, frequencies are given. If you can't pick the frequencies, you also don't pick the wrong ones.
Yeah.
You don't fiddle around with which is the right one. Well, it's either 4K or 2K. There's nothing in between. Those are the two I have. You don't fiddle with the Q. You don't have one.
Yeah.
Therefore, you can't make a Q that's too sharp and boost something that's very pure. You don't make those mistakes.
I think that's where pull tags. I love pull tags because a pull tags, like it's just like you said, simplicity. You know, it's just like it's simple. It's got a sound. You know, there's a reason why it's still around after all these years as well. You know, it's just simple and it does what it does. You know, and you know you can't get too complicated with it. But however, at the same time, I personally love FabFilter stuff. I love, like a lot of engineers, a Q3. And yet, so I, you know, been a mastering engineer. I like, you know, been the surgeon and going into the tiny little bits and pieces. But at the same time, though, if it's a great mix, it doesn't need it. So it can literally, like you said, you know, just go with something nice and simple. Then you're good to go. It's great. But I think,
I mean, if you look at Chris Lord Algae,
yeah,
nothing in his and whether one likes that kind of music he mixes or whatever, or his mix, but he's successful, and I dare anyone to deliver a mix that is so wall-breaking, crushing as what he does. Okay, that's not art form what he does, I think, and nothing in his studio is newer than 1990. I think.
I can believe it. Yeah.
SSL console, a whole bunch of 1176s, which he literally uses as presets. He doesn't fiddle with them. Do you know that?
I can believe it. Absolutely. I can absolutely
if he wants a new setting on 1176, he buys a new one. Yeah. And they're all in the rack, set up a certain way. So if he wants a certain kind of compression, he patches into that one. He uses them as presets, just hardware presets.
That's bonkers. Absolutely bonkers.
If you got the money.
I was just about to say that. Yeah, completely. If you've got the money to do it, then you're good to go. But yeah, I've interviewed, for example, David Kalmusky, who's based over in Nashville. And, you know, he's got all these like, you know, beautiful, you know, rack mount effects all piled up next to him when we're doing the interview. And yet he said sometimes that he'll use that for recording. So the signal going in. So, you know, recording the guitar or vocals, whatever, or drums. But then, you know, it'll be hybrid mixing in the box with his outboard stuff as well. But then I talk to other engineers that use all their outboard stuff to get those great sounds because they've already committed, like you said. And then the mix in the box using their plugins because it's faster recall, you know, doing it that way.
Realistically, if you can't go and get a massively good mix happening in the box nowadays, I don't think you know what you're doing. I get going in through a good preamp, maybe running that through the EQ already, all that. But realistically, bang for the buck, time, recallability, being able to move it somewhere with all the amazing plugins that are there, you can tell me that a good engineer with good ears, if I put Chris Lord Algae in my studio, give him my plugins, which is, you know, UA stuff, which is LA2A and 1176, LA3. I mean, all the stuff he uses right there. I'm pretty sure he could get 98% to where he is in his own studio. because it's all there, and he's got the ears and he knows where he's going. It's the knowledge. It's not the gear. It's got to be the knowledge. I can't sound like him because I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. And there's one set of plugins that I now use, which is more modern stuff, and that's the stuff from iZotope.
Cool.
For the simple reason, well, two simple reasons. A, the iZotope guys are nice, and they pay me to make videos. I like to work with nice people that give me money. That's a good thing.
That is. And
when then on top of it, their stuff is super complex but ultra simple to use.
Mm-hmm.
In everything in between, and makes it easier and quicker for me to work. What's there not to love? Like vocal processing. I could go and put for voice. I could put, of course, an LA2A on it and then EQ it and all that stuff. I use Neutron, which is their channel strip.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I low end out, boost a little bit, 250, 3K for sibilance. Beautiful visual thing for the compressor. You see exactly where it's compressing. Then it's got a built-in limiter. I don't use any of the other stuff in there, but it's a great channel strip. If you could, of course, you can go and link that to all the other neutrons, and they can actually see each other. And then you can say, well, you can actually see the waveform or the spectrum of one in the other, and then EQ out and make them fit puzzle-wise into. It can do all that stuff. Rebalance, all that, but I don't use that. I use the RX8 religiously.
Awesome plugin.
I mean, even in the studio, which is very great for talking and voice. And then I'm using a Schups CMID Mini. That's one of the premier shotgun mics.
Yeah.
I still use voice denoise because it gets rid of a little bit of the Mac and all that stuff. I still use Deverb a little bit because it brings my voice a little bit closer. DS, that stuff for post-production is absolutely mind-blowing.
Agreed.
And for the album we're producing with Campaign Like Clockwork, I had my mastering chain, which was a Manley Massive Passive, where you can do a lot of stuff wrong if you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Many knobs. Going through the Sony Inflator, which just always makes things fatter, and I don't know why, but it's great. And then I think I was using the plugin alliance, the Brainworks mastering thing, whatever it was called, BX2 or something like that.
Yeah.
And that was like my mastering chain on the master bus. And then I put Ozone on there, Ozone 9, just to see what happens if I do nothing and just let it do its AI thing. Turn all my stuff off and say, yeah, I want like a good mix for streaming. Bam, click. And then it runs through it, and then it just sounded better. Like what I can do with my ears in all these like $1,500 of plugins, you put Ozone on there, automatic, rock, go. It was as loud, it was as fat, sounded less compressed, kick and snare were more present, vocals were more upfront. I did nothing. I literally just told it, do your thing.
This is such a tricky topic for me being a mastering engineer, though, because for me, and I was going to ask you about AI as well and your thoughts on this, so thanks for bringing this up, but I think AI is incredible. One of my best friends, he's a patent attorney, and recently he's gone into music patency. So that's his thing. So basically, he gets loads of people coming to him with musical inventions. And we've had this conversation about AI as well, because if someone goes to somewhere like Lambda and uses an AI service, obviously as a mastering engineer, that's doing me out of a job. Yet at the same time, I know that AI can't give a personal experience to that person. It can't give great customer service. It can't give personality. It can't, it doesn't even like your music because it's just ones and zeros. It's just a computer program and that's all it is. But does it sound good? Yeah, it can sound great. But
well, I would never send that somewhere, let it do its job, and assume what comes back is the best product I can have. I would give that to you and pay you for it. However, I'm of course in a seat where I know a little bit about it, and I can judge compared to what came out of. Are you stuck? No, you're not stuck. Okay,
we're good.
I can judge what I could do with my mastering skills, and then what comes out of their AI was better. So I have an A/B, and then I can say, well, I'd rather use that. Then the question is still, if I gave that to you, can you do more? Can you get it better? Is that, if you don't know what you're doing, is a completely automatic system going to be the solution for you? I don't think it is, because you don't have a way of judging if that's right what comes out of it.
Absolutely agree with you as well. And I think as well, I get this with a lot of artists that I work with. And a lot of artists, like, I think we had a chat about this before we started the interview, that they, I was talking to someone else maybe about this but today as well, but they record at home, because it's a pandemic. A lot more people, like you said earlier on today, that, are buying loads of gear, and artists are recording at home, yet they don't have the acoustic environment to be able to listen to what they've created. So they're making judgments, and they're relying on AI to basically just go, right, that's it, that's good enough. But is it good enough? Does it translate for the club? Does it translate on all the streaming services the way it should? Does it sound good in a car? They don't know. They're just literally just relying on an AI service. Whereas I know that, a kid, 18-year-old kid in their bedroom that's making music has maybe never even heard, unless they've gone to a club or like a big gig, 20 hertz, for example, because their room just can't provide that to them. They're not feeling that feeling in their chest.
That's the next discussion when you're talking about those engineers, Nashville guy, all the outboard gear, all the good stuff. I know it's a sad opinion, but is there even a point to all of it? When it comes out of an iPhone in the kid's pocket from Spotify, first of all, comes from a service that doesn't pay anyone. So what's the point in investing thousands in a good mix engineer, mastering engineer, realistically, so that you then don't get paid and you have the honor of people hearing your music? Well, fuck that. Honor my ass. But apart from that, how does music get consumed? Streaming is not. Where do I? It's sad, but I have two 45-inch TVs in front of me where I see what I'm filming when I'm filming, but when I'm editing, I'm watching Netflix. For a year and a half now, I haven't done that on those TVs. There's a soundbar, there's a subwoofer, there's a system here. When I watch Netflix, which is, sound and all that, and movies.
Yeah.
iPad. In front of, with the speakers in the iPad. I have nice systems in. And again, there's a TV right there with a Sony, whatever, soundbar, Samsung, with a subwoofer. No. Here.
Yeah.
Where do I listen to my friends' videos? Sorry, my friends. On the crapper, on the phone, or on the iPad. There's no low end. So, sorry, Mr. Adam Steele, with your bassy bass. You don't make it sound good on the iPad. I don't want to know about it. That's the sad reality. My girlfriend's car doesn't have a CD player anymore.
Yep.
It's streaming. That's it. So how good is streaming? It's good. Everything I export, I do MP3 320 kbps. Highest quality. I can't really necessarily tell the difference. But is there really a point? I mean, the systems and the services that these things get consumed on, the difference between the real pool tech and the very good software pool tech is there. But is it still there in a mix in the format and service and system that it gets consumed on, which is nobody's buying stereos anymore. Nobody.
It's true.
Yeah. What are they buying? They're buying. Let's talk about that. They're buying Bluetooth speakers, good Bluetooth speakers, absolutely. I mean, good ones.
Yeah.
But what happened to stereo?
Yeah.
How many of those Bluetooth speakers are stereo? None. Even the best €300 Bose, I don't see them being two of them, being left and right in the room. Like, why are we mixing in stereo when all these Bluetooth speakers that people are buying are literally in one position in the room? I bought my girlfriend, which she doesn't use, a very nice Teufel system, $300-400. It's a nice Bluetooth radio.
Yeah.
It has, I think, 2 speakers, but it's still sitting in the corner in the kitchen. So stereo, it's still coming from the same place. And most of them, whether they're the JBLs or it doesn't matter. You know, a Bluetooth speaker is one thing. It might have 0 speakers in there, so it might give you stereo, but I mean, if it's sitting right there, I'm not getting stereo. In order for it to be stereo, it literally has to come to my ears from 2 different locations.
100%, yeah. Exactly.
That's how the ears work. So why are we talking these plugins versus outboard gear for thousands and that tube mic versus this, when nowadays it's iPad, phone, tablet, or best case scenario, a nice high-end Bluetooth speaker that is still one source with a lot of bass sitting in the kitchen somewhere. Like, how many people really are consuming what we do on a system, stand-up speakers, and look, a glass house and all that, rocks throwing. I mean, me too. Yeah. I have a big 7.1 Teufel system in my living room. I watch TV with that. I don't listen to music there.
Which is really interesting, though. I mean, but it as well, however, just to flip that around slightly, with Apple, how they're introducing Dolby Atmos, having already introduced Dolby Atmos to everyone as well, which is like completely opposite end of the spectrum to that. For example, I mean, just going back to what you were saying as well, Hennings. I mean, I use like a crappy mono speaker to listen to the masters, and I use PMC speakers. I love my PMCs; they sound great. But yeah, I've also got a crappy mono speaker just to make sure that I can make sure that the client's fan base is happy, like you said, listening to it on their phone or on their laptop. But yeah, Apple now are trying to introduce Dolby Atmos to everybody and saying that this could be like a new reality. And it sounds amazing, but is there a great market for it? Is there a huge market for it? I don't know. I mean, for example, you could probably get quite easily freaked out if you're listening to music, for example, like on the train, and suddenly, like, I don't know, like a random sound like comes at you like from the top of your head. I'm sure, have you been in like a Dolby Atmos room with like all the 20 odd speakers in there? Have you done that yet? No. Any intention, any thoughts about doing it at all, or does that not really interest you, walking into an environment like that and trying out that particular way of listening?
You mean outside of my house?
Yeah. Fair enough. No. I mean, but what
dude, going in the kitchen that's far. Yeah, and that's literally right there.
Yeah. So do you reckon Atmos will take off, or do you reckon it's just a fad that they're trying to introduce to us, and it'll be come and go, and that's it?
For what? For music?
Yeah.
They're trying that for music?
Have you not seen it with Apple? So yeah, so it's basically, it's like head movement as well. So like the audio moves around. So for example, let's say that you're watching a movie on your phone with Dolby Atmos, but with headphones on, with head tracking. They're, for example, like a gunshot with sound design. It's like, you can hear a gunshot, like a bullet from behind your head.
I fully get it. They're doing that with headphones?
Yeah. Apple have done it. They call it spatial audio with Apple. So that's what they've recently released. So there was a video with Zane Lowe was on there, Sylvia Massey, and a couple of other engineers as well, you know, saying that this is like the new future of, you know, audio, and that's the way that Apple presented it. So I'm quite
no, it's not. It can't be.
That's the way they presented it, and I'm not saying what's right or wrong.
Yeah.
I'm saying that's what they put forward.
For look, I'm super interested for movies. Totally.
Yeah.
I got a big system upstairs, and I'll put on headphones if I'm like right in the middle of it. I love that idea. For music, I mean, let me ask you this. How many 5.1 surround music mix recordings? And that's 5.1. That's old shit, okay?
Yeah.
How did that take off?
It didn't.
I mean, for a mix engineer, it's killer. Because having everything in 2 speakers, freaking difficult. Being able to put the vocalist in the center speaker, put the guitars left and right, and the freaking tambourine in the back. Everything has its own space. Wow. But then, where do people... The thing is, you need several mixes, because in headphones, surround, not necessarily the same thing. Cars with surround, no. Earbuds, no. So in order for surround to have taken off in music, everyone would have had to listen in a surround setting. Now, the thing is, with movies, it's different, because a movie you do enjoy usually in the movie theater or your living room, where you are in a stationary place. So it's very easy to put a 5.1 system in the place where the movie is, which is where the TV is.
Yeah.
But music is mobile, on the go. 5.1 out of your pocket from the phone, no. So I think it just didn't. I think there's a Metallica Black album in 5.1. There are albums.
Yeah.
But people can only listen to those in their 5.1 system. And that means you definitely do need 2 different mixes. Whereas for the movie, you need 1 mix, which can be taken down to mono, all good. But how does Apple propose to do this Atmos thing for music? What's the benefit? Like, the guitar solo moves from the back to the front?
They're saying it's like a new way to listen, new way to consume music, and it's a new idea, it's a new concept. But yeah, like you said, it's like for example, you might get like a guitar that will be in this corner of the room, and then all of a sudden it's over here somewhere, you know, or you might get a drum kit that's, you know, kind of spread out like a drum kit would be right in front of you in different sides and different corners. So it's not just, like you said, like stereo, it's not just left and right, but, you know, the hi-hat might be at a slight angle, or a tom might be at a slight angle. So that's kind of their idea behind it as well. Or you've also got audio happening on top of your head as well at the same time. So what they're saying is, like, it works with, and this is, I'm still learning about this at the minute, but it's like with head tracking, how like your head moves with the audio itself. I think, yeah, someone's just mentioned it. So 22.4, now that's the system. So yeah, it's 22.4 rather than 5.1, which is just absolutely bonkers. But it's crazy. But I think it's fascinating. But I'm just wondering, I suppose my question is, I suppose it's quite an open-ended question, but will it take off? You know, will it be the way that people consume music? And a lot of people have argued online, you might have seen it in the forums, that have said, look, you know, just stereo music is here to stay, and that's it, because not a lot of people can afford to actually go down the Dolby route. You know, a punk rock band that want to record like an EP, you know, they can't afford a Dolby Atmos mix. There's just no way. There's no way that they can do it, you know.
If I'm imagining it's an actual room that I'm sitting in,
yeah, exactly,
no headphones, then it would be a ridiculously expensive system. Because I think for Atmos, you need, 9 speakers minimum, and then on the ceiling, whatever. I've looked at those systems for upstairs. Could be fun. Then again, how much content is there? And for movies, I fully get it. I fully get it for movies.
Yeah.
It sounds like for music, no, it's very simple. We don't listen to music because of the experience in the room, because we want to be in the band and we like that the guitar comes from over there. We enjoy the song just as much when it comes out of a crappy little Bluetooth speaker in the corner and it's mono. We're listening to radio. Radio is usually mono, or a lot of the time. So we don't enjoy music because of the experience of the sound necessarily. If it's a good sound, that's good. But that's not why we like music. We like the emotion. We like the feeling. We like what it does to us emotionally. Like with a movie, you want to be immersed.
Yeah.
You want to be there. You want to be also emotions, frightened and so. But if you're frightened or not, and you're anxious or not, depends on how much you're buying into the realism. Right?
Yeah.
Would you enjoy a song more if you feel that it's more real? You see, it doesn't work for music the same way. Music works on a different level compared to a movie. If I actually think I'm being shot at, the movie's grabbing me. If I actually think that someone's hitting the hi-hat, why do I know he's hitting the hi-hat. I can hear it. I mean, why do I have to feel? Most people don't even know what it's like to be in the middle of the band because they've never been in the middle of the band. They couldn't give a flying rat's ass about the realism of being in the band.
Yeah, that's true.
It's a nice idea. But for music, for movies, 100%. Tell me how much the system is. I'm installing it right now. If half the movies are Atmos, I'm in it.
Yeah.
Done. But for music, if there was something people wanted, 5.1 would have taken off. 5.1 didn't take off. People enjoy music just as much when it comes out of the iPhone out of their pocket, because it's the song. It's what they heard when they were a kid. It's that emotion. Whether it's more real and there's a gimmicky synth thing flying over your head, that's cool, but it's not going to make the song better. It's not going to make them like the music more. I think for music, it's a gimmick, and I highly doubt that it will catch on.
Absolutely fair enough. It's absolutely fair point. Thanks so much for telling your thoughts on that as well, Henning. But you know what really interests me as well, I know you've touched on the subject as well, but it's feeling. To me, when I'm hearing music for pleasure, or if I'm hearing music when I'm working with artists, it's that feeling I get. Or at a gig, I remember I was talking to one engineer once, and they said, you know, what's the most important thing to you about music? And I was just thinking, she said the most important thing to her was the feeling that she gets when she's listening to that music. And when you get a crowd of 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, for example, you mentioned Dream Theater. If you've got that whole crowd, they've all got a similar feeling and hearing the song all at the same time, that is fucking powerful. And I think we forget this. You know, when I go into forums and everyone's arguing about compressors and EQs, or I know you were joking earlier on about, you know, kind of like, why did I ask the question about the pickup on the guitar as well? But, you know, it's like we get too bogged down, I think, by sometimes the technical side of things. And to me, music is about feeling and a moment as well. It's just like, I think that we as engineers and as songwriters, we forget that sometimes. Mm-hmm. And I think it's just really important to, like you talk about Adele is just like, you know, to my ears as well, I completely agree with you. She's so simplistic and you think it's a massive sound, but it's just her and the piano. But yet it's a feeling that everyone gets at the same time. And if you can get everyone listening at the same time to that and feeling a similar vibe, you're going to become a huge artist. But that, to me, is like a really, really hard thing to do, for everyone to be in that moment all together. And I think that's, you know, because I think we live in this ADHD generation where it's all fast content all the time, we kind of maybe are missing on that feeling. And I think COVID as well, you know, we, like you said, you know, you've obviously been with your job, it's like you're in your studio 12 hours a day, but yet, you know, and we've all missed going out to, I personally missed like going out to gigs, because I get to share, you know, the time I'm having with other participants watching a favorite band like Bon Jovi or Dream Theater or, you know, whoever it is. You know, I think that's what I think we're missing at the minute. And I think that's, you know, I think that the 80s that you loved, like with the Bon Jovi, I think it was maybe, I don't know if you agree, but I think it was more of a simpler time. And I think as well with like, the early 90s, when I was listening to grunge, again, it's simpler time. But I think it's like, we're overthinking things. And like you said, with the riffs as well, maybe it's like going back to the simplicity of the simple riffs, the simple choruses, and maybe it's going full circle back to where the Beatles and Elvis all started it right at the beginning with the simplicity. I don't know if you know
it's what we can see in music with 60,000 new songs a day, information overload. The same thing is in the world of mixing.
Yeah.
Information overload in terms of all those plugins. How do you get any work done if half your work is what plugin do I use?
Yeah.
Crystal Algae take 3 hours to mix a song. You know why? There's my rack. I know I'm going to use an 1176 on the kick drum. You know why? Because that's what I do.
Yeah.
I get shit done. Look at songwriting or production, synthesizers. When I did my albums, I had a Korg Z1, 2 banks of 127 sounds. I had a Kawai K5000S, 2 banks of 127 sounds. I knew every single sound on those things. I knew I wanted a synth bass. I knew exactly where I was going. I wanted a lead sound. I know exactly what 3 lead sounds were there that were good for the song. I checked them out, done. Nowadays, you go through presets and you never make it past the A's because there's 150 A's. You never make it to B. And you found 7 A's that sound good. You never make it in the presets to the B. There are 1,300 presets per VST instrument. And there are how many VST instruments do I have? Even just with the native instrument that I have. Each one of them has, I don't know how many presets. I use much less synthesizers nowadays. You know why? Because I have too many. I have too many. I don't know where to start. And when I open one that I think will do the job, there are hundreds, if not thousands of presets. If there were 120, I could spend a good 2 or 3 hours going through them. And in the next couple of days, I'll learn them. And then I have a song and I'm like, I know exactly where to go. Nowadays, I don't even know exactly where to go, what instrument to use. Far from, I know what preset, and then I tweak it a bit. I know how to tweak it, okay, good. But I don't even use synths anymore because I'd rather do those synth sounds with guitars because there I have a couple of pedals. Amps and guitars are all the same, but I have a couple of pedals that can do synthy kind of stuff. I chop it up a bit, but I get much quicker to the synth part by using guitars than actually using synthesizers because it's information overload.
Yeah.
In here, obviously this is a different situation, but this is information overload. What guitar do I use? If I was a guitar player in a studio, I would obviously, if I did that, wasn't the guitar YouTuber, I'd have maybe 10 guitars, not 80. I'd have a couple of amps that do certain things, but then I would know exactly, overdrive sound, let's go to the Morgan. I want something clean, let's go to the Tone King. We're dealing with information overload everywhere. What I was going to say when we were talking about bands and back in the day.
Yeah.
Nirvana, those days. I remember every CD that I bought back in the day, what shop I bought it in, and actually where it was on the CD rack.
Yeah.
Gary Moore, Wild Frontier. I know exactly. It was all the way to the left. The shelf was over. It was like in the middle. I know exactly where Steve Vai, Passion and Warfare was. I bought an album by the band Heaven's Gate, German power metal band.
Yeah.
Now, why did I buy that? Because every time I went to the CD stores, somehow that cover with the green dragon on a hill was there. I didn't know what it was. I had no idea. But every time I went to the CD store and there were, a couple of thousand or hundred of CDs, somehow going through them, that one always popped up. And after so many Hey, Gabor, or Alex,
Hey.
one of the two. One of those, it was always there. And I didn't know what the band was, but I bought it at some point because I just wanted to know. So I discovered a new band because the cover always popped up. So there was a new album every couple of weeks. One of your favorite bands had like a new album coming out.
Yeah.
But how many albums were released every week? Not 100. Not even. So you knew what was coming out.
You did. You're absolutely right. And I love those days as well. Because I mean, I remember going into a CD shop, you know, and you're absolutely right. You know, I was a punk rock kid as well as like into my grunge or metal as well. But I went into that particular section in the store and I didn't know half the bands I was looking at. And I just looked at the covers and I just went to the guy at the counter, the girl at the counter, and just went, "Can you put that on for 30 seconds for me, please?" So I would buy that CD, you know, that 15, 20 pound CD, however much it was probably imported from the States somewhere or from Europe somewhere, just because I thought that the cover looked fucking cool. I listened to like, you know, a chorus, you know, or whatever, or an intro or a riff, you know, for a few seconds and go, "That sounds awesome. I'll buy that." And I was invested and I would take it home. And I'm sure you did.
And then you listen to the whole thing, not a song.
Absolutely, man. Yeah,
like one of the ways to maybe discover new music is I go on Apple Music and then there's new releases in rock and there's a playlist.
Yeah.
Rock, heavy rock, metal, whatever you're into, there's a playlist. But it's one song of each band. And I don't know any of these bands, but here's the thing. You listen to it, but do you actively listen to it? I might listen to it while I ride my bike. I might listen to it riding the car. So I know that's a cool song, but do I then actually go and write down what band that is, find the album, listen to the whole album? No, the song is over. Next, I don't know that one. Oh, that's kind of cool. But I've discovered it, I let it go. I discovered it, I let it go. There isn't I found this new band and now I'm getting invested. Like Biffy Clyro. Years ago, found Biffy Clyro. A friend of mine came back from the UK, said, "Oh, you have to listen to this band." And oh my God, mind blown. Nobody knew about this band. And buy every Biffy Clyro album, I'm in. You have to spend time with it. In the beginning, it's shit, and then it gets ridiculously good. But I'm invested in that band. But nowadays, there's just so much of everything. Presets, plugins, bands, the YouTube channels. There's just so much. And how do you sift through it all and not jump from one to the other? I have so many friends that don't even watch TV or Netflix or whatever, that just do YouTube. Yeah. And there's so much great stuff on YouTube. But when I go on my TV, and I love Taskmaster. Best show in the best show in the freaking world. Found on YouTube. That's great. And then maybe I get to like a Mark Rober video. Oh, that's kind of cool, sciencey stuff. And then other stuff gets suggested. And I look at them, and there's like 7 videos I would like to see. Okay? It wasn't like when I was younger, I sound old again, you're waiting for the 1.5 hour show where the new episode comes out in 3 days. You know what? You're waiting for that 1.5 hour show in 3 days, which of course nowadays is annoying with everything being available. But with everything being available, all these suggestions on YouTube, once you clicked on one, the other suggestions are gone again. But I was interested in those too. It's just, where do you go first? And then do you really get invested in? I'm happy when I find the one thing I can get invested in. Yeah. Like Taskmaster, I've seen most seasons twice now. But my girlfriend, she likes Big Bang Theory. Yeah. But she only watches Big Bang Theory. Fair enough. There's 12 seasons. And I think she's probably now on her 7th rotation.
I bet she knows it off by heart if she's watched it that many times.
Oh, yes. I always come over there and I go like, oh, that's cool. What kind of show is that? Is that new? Have you seen this one? And she's like, seen it.
Yeah, gotcha.
But here's the thing. Many people have this, and I think it's called like the comfort show.
Yeah, like Friends. Friends is another example. Everyone puts Friends on, and it's really interesting. I watched the Friends reunion, and all over the world, obviously, worth multi-millions, whatever. But it's like kind of in these different countries, they said that they felt comforted. You've hit the nail on the head, Henning. Absolutely, man. It's like they felt comforted when they were watching the show. So they just like whatever shit was going on in their life, they would feel that comfort of watching that particular show. And I think,
there's so much stuff out there. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just saying, it's like kind of with me, it's like with music, I might be having the shittest day in the world, but again, it goes back to feeling again. If I hear a song that I love, it will just change my mood immediately. And to me, I think, again, we miss the power of music. I think it's just been mentioned in the comments about walking into the record store. To me, why I'm obsessed with music is not only is it because my granddad was a keyboard player, my gran was a singer, my dad was a drummer, I'm a guitarist, my son's 4, I don't know if he's going to be a musician or not, but yeah, it's the feeling that I had when my family were introducing me to music. It's the feeling I had when I went into a record store. It's a feeling I had when I first picked up my guitar. It's a feeling I had when I went to V2001, whenever it was, when I saw Foo Fighters live, and my mind was just blown seeing a band for the first time ever. And I just think that, we need to reconnect to that somehow as human beings. We need to somehow reconnect and stop, this ADHD bullshit. But however, I think this ADHD constant flow of information bullshit is here to stay. So maybe, like you said, it's like how we react to it. It's like how we, help educate one another as well to make sure that we don't overthink, what we're looking at, rather than get bamboozled by all these different options.
I think the music fans did this to themselves.
Napster.
They started with Napster. Yeah. We wanted for free.
Yeah.
The only way out was to do streaming services for money, who now say, oh, we can't pay the musicians because we only make billions. Oh, sorry, I only have 2 billion myself. I literally can't pay you guys. I'm so poor. Mr. Spotify man, as wipe, or as we pay, as we say. It's from a Saturday Night Live sketch with what's his face. Yeah. So they did that to themselves, but the problem is that led to this is how we consume music. I think what Valeria said. Mo, what is QI? Mo, you got to watch QI, dude.
Oh man, yeah, absolutely.
Mo,
it's great, absolutely awesome.
QI best freaking show. So pointful, but also completely pointless. Nothing happens, about nothing, but oh my god, is it good? Start watching now.
Stephen Fry as well. What a legend.
Yeah. So I think since we don't walk into the record store anymore, I kind of have lost interest in music, because it is. You go, you buy, you check it out, go through the cover. The whole experience is gone. And I don't think we're going to get that back as long as it stays digital. As long as it stays a one-song thing, I don't have a cover. Someone put together a playlist. I don't even pay, or I get advertising in between, or $9.99, and then as much as I want. It makes it so much harder for musicians to have a job, for you to have a job, for all of us to have a job in music, because there's no money.
Yeah, absolutely.
And money can't be the only motivation, but it is important to make music.
Fucking important. Absolutely.
It costs money to make music. And going in the record shop, discovering new things, taking it home, and it's yours, and you listen to the whole thing. An album which I think is one of the most brilliant albums ever to be created, Linkin Park's 1,000 Suns.
Oh yeah, great album. Yeah.
that cannot be a put a song in a playlist album.
No.
This is a put it on, crank it up, and immerse yourself in this experience from beginning to end. There's no single. It just works as one.
Yeah.
And mind blowing, especially after a whole album that had one hit on the radio after another. They had the balls to go and do an album that doesn't even work on the radio at all. I mean, massive balls to this band. And then that just wouldn't work. How do you get an album like this to people? If you're like a new band and you have something this brilliant, how do you even get it to people to take the time? You can't do a song. So yeah, I would love to go back to record stores, but that's only going to be that will happen when they simply just shut the streaming services down. And you know when that happens? When the musicians have the balls to tell them, no, we're not going to use your service. Thank you.
But will they have the balls, though? That's the thing.
Musicians are little pussies. No, I mean, no, they're little dicks. Because pussies are nicer than dicks. So, okay? It's an insult to the pussy to call the musicians pussies. Gotta be gender nice here. Whatever it's called. But, no. They go like, oh, someone will hear me. Oh, great. Here, take all my music. They signed record contracts for 15% and got, record companies got rich because they were so eager to be heard and get a record contract. Same thing. Oh, all I want is to be heard. No. How about you get heard and paid for because what you provide is an amazing service to society. You give people emotions. It's worth something. And they all think they're not worth anything. Therefore, being heard is the most they can hope for. So, I'm on Spotify. Yeah, and what good does it do to you? If they all get some balls and just say, no, my music will remain with me and Spotify will not get it. And Apple will not get it. And Amazon Music will not get it. You can get it when you give me $9.95 and here is my music. We have the power. If we all don't play their game, Spotify tomorrow, if all bands say, nope, what you do is not right. We want fair pay. If musicians go on strike, Spotify has no content.
Absolutely. But I suppose the problem is that everyone these days, it seems, not everyone, but a lot of people that are in the music game are chasing fame. So to get famous, the way that they do that is by going to the streaming services and, making sure that their music gets, in the
But you're not getting famous when there's 60,000 new songs a day.
Very true. But everyone seems to be chasing that, though. People are chasing that, dream, to get famous and, to get TikTok famous or, YouTube famous or whatever,
Look at me. I was this famous for 3 seconds in the progressive rock world. So pretty much this famous. Okay?
Yeah.
So a couple thousand people bought my albums. Great. For me, check mark. I know I can deliver the goods. In the prog world, I can make those listeners happy. I know.
Yeah.
The reviews were there, all good. I don't need that feeling.
Yeah.
Cash. So I have 7 albums on my hard drive. I mean, count the songs, fully produced albums, all ready to go. It's not on any streaming service.
Yeah.
It doesn't give me anything that people say, we'd like to listen to it for free. What do I get out of that? I've already had people listen to my music. I've already been told, we really like what you do. Okay, thank you. I don't need any more. If you want to hear my music, buy the album. Which, of course, no one will do. So, therefore, it doesn't end up. I mean, I work with DistroKid. I could get that stuff on all the streaming services overnight. Very easy. I don't. I like making it. I keep making it. I pile on. albums and albums on my hard drive. Much better production quality than the old stuff ever was. I will not release it just to be heard, because I don't have that feeling anymore that I just need to be heard. I don't care. I release it when there's a way to release it to people that are willing to pay for it.
That's awesome. I love that. Absolutely amazing. Henning, it's been an absolute pleasure picking your brains about everything that we've covered so far today. I've just seen in the comments, there's also been some comments about Hanson as well. We've got some Hanson fans that have randomly joined the conversation.
Hello.
So you're a Hanson fan as well. Amazing.
Best band ever.
Awesome.
Number one. And you think I'm kidding?
No.
Oh,
I think you've been deadly serious, man.
I have the Christmas albums.
Wow. Awesome.
I do buy every Hanson album as a CD.
Yeah.
And it is the best band in the world. You think I'm kidding? I know you think I'm kidding.
Above Bon Jovi and above Dream Theater?
Yes.
Fair enough.
If I want to be happy, put on a Hanson album.
Jobs again. I think I've not heard any Hansons. I know that they have done many albums, but I've not actually heard any Hanson album since the very first one, which had obviously Bop and all those tracks on it, but I've not actually listened to any stuff. So maybe you should send me down that rabbit hole, Henning, and check it all out.
For a massive groove central wall of sound, the second album, this time around, still April Boreal Jr. on drums, Neil Stubenhaus on bass, massive production. It's ridiculously good rock music. After that, they started to play more and more instruments themselves. Like the kid, the drummer kid, I think third album started to play. And still, kick-ass playing, great songwriting. It's simple playing, but really to the point. Very, very good sounds. They know how to groove. I've got Hanson Live in House of Rock in Chicago. They were doing their own stuff. No bass, just three guys doing their thing. Who needs bass? And then they were doing a lot of classics, all three-part harmony. I mean, they're insanely good musicians. They're also ridiculously religious, homeschooled, married at the age of 17, 5 kids at the age of 25, weirdos, okay? I try to completely ignore that and not think about it. But other than, the cuckoo part, wow. Hanson, definitely number one.
Absolutely incredible. So cool, man. Absolutely brilliant. Henning, thank you so much for joining today, man. It's been an absolute pleasure and blast.
It's 3 hours after my bedtime.
No, probably after mine as well, man. Absolutely. It's been so great. But thank you as well, though, for everyone that's joined today from our community and from Henning from your community as well. It's been so fun seeing all the comments coming through as well today, and everyone experiencing this conversation as well. It's so cool. But yeah, absolutely. Feel free to join our community, which is Produce, Mix, Fix and Conquer, which is on Facebook, facebook.com/groups/Produce, Mix, Fix and Conquer. There's 2,800 of us so far on there as well. So the community has been growing since November, and absolutely loving it. We've done about 30 odd interviews so far, including Henning as well, which has been amazing. Henning, my friend, you've absolutely broke the record. It did belong originally to Mr. Bob Olson, who's known for his amazing Motown skills from back in the 60s, and we discovered his discography, and I believe an amateur rock as well. It was just over 3 hours, but I think you broke the record for the Produce, Mix, Fix and Conquer live stream at 3 hours 24 minutes. So
usually the case. How much do you regret calling it Produce, Mix, Fix and Conquer and having to say that every single time?
I'm kind of stuck with it now, man, to be honest. It's just the way it goes. We do actually abbreviate it to PMFC. It's quite interesting. As Bob Katz, I did an interview with Bob, and he edited, so cool. He edited the interview his end, and put it out on his own channel, and he just abbreviated it to PMFC. So a lot of people are now just abbreviating it to PMFC rather than.
It sounds like a very dirty sex act.
Really?
PMFC.
Maybe we should just change the whole name of the thing altogether. Absolutely incredible. But no, thank you everyone for joining today as well. It's been so great to meet you all. So anything to leave us with? Any last thoughts, Henning?
What?
We can leave it at that.
I'd like to go to bed, only that Derek from Ref was like, well, talk to me when you're done. Apparently I got more business to do now.
Oh, amazing.
It was a pleasure. Thank you all for hanging out and talking about, I don't know, things and stuff. Letting me rant about the music industry that I have no part in.
Oh man, it's been great. Thanks again for your time today, Henning. Feel free to hang out for a moment after the live stream as well. So I'm just going to end that now. But everyone, absolutely, Henning's channel is absolutely fan-fucking-tastic. Go to his channel, watch his streams as well. Anyone that's from the community, I'm sure you've seen his streams, his channel before, and all his amazing content. But absolutely head over there because his content's just absolutely brilliant. So Henning, thanks again for your time today, sir. It's been brilliant.
Anytime.
There you go.